frustrating. I guess the saddest thing is that as much as I can't stand conservatives because I'm a liberal/progressive, at the very least, I felt like we were all kind of in the same boat. We were all kind of like the same country, and we were all presenting at least a unified front to the rest of the world. That as much as conservatives and Democrats might have hated each other, at least we were all Americans at the end of the day.
And when did that change?
When did that change? Well, a big change.
When Donald Trump became president of the United States. And they lost their mind because they couldn't control him, they couldn't bully him, they couldn't get him to bow down to political correctness, and so this is them, stuttering and spamming all over the place like lunatics, trying to get Donald Trump killed, assaulting Trump supporters, and lost their minds. Why do you think Elon Musk left the Democrat Party? Why do you think Tulsi Gabbard left the Democrat Party? Why are so many Democrats like Vernon Jones leaving the Democrat Party? Because this is your Democrat voter right here. Nobody wants to be a part of this psychotic movement anymore. Nobody.
Psychotic movement when you guys literally tried. You guys invaded the Capitol.
Your side believes in trans kids.
Who wants to
Your
trans
side
kids?
wants to pay for trans
Most
surgeries
people aren't
in the
okay
prisons.
with it. You guys
Your
don't even
side
acknowledge
lets in
what
10
you've
million
done.
illegal immigrants.
Oh
Your side starts wars all over the world. Our side is the party of sanity and the party of common sense. And if you can't see that in this debate, then you're never going to see it.
You're never going to. The party of sanity is the party that doesn't believe in dinosaurs and thinks that we create hurricanes.
What are you talking about?
Do you believe in dinosaurs? You think
what is this dinosaurs?
Wait,
what are you talking about dinosaurs?
Do you think the dinosaurs
do you
ever
play
roam
with
the earth?
dinosaur toys?
Do you think the
Why do you
dinosaurs,
bring this up?
Do you think the dinosaurs
is that
ever roam the earth?
Is that a dinosaur on your necklace right there? What is that?
Do you think the dinosaurs roam the earth?
I'm not here to talk about dinosaurs.
What's up, YouTube? Hope you guys are feeling good. My name is Ederu, and today I'm back with an amazing video to check out with you guys. This is called Owen, Shroyer repeatedly demolishes destiny in epic debate. You know the drill, guys. We talk less and we react more. Let's check this out.
Are you going to deny that there was an Epstein Island? Are you going to deny these Diddy parties where they're having all these things?
Wait a second. How many photos was Kamala Harris in with Epstein?
No.
How many photos was Donald Trump in with Epstein?
Did you read?
See the silence?
Did
Crazy,
you read?
isn't it?
There's no silence. You just won't shut up.
Do you believe in dinosaurs? You think
what is
real?
this dinosaurs?
Wait,
what are you talking about dinosaurs?
Do you think the dinosaurs
do you
ever
play
roam
with
the earth?
dinosaur toys?
Do you think the
Why
dinosaurs,
do you bring this up?
Do you think the dinosaurs
is that
ever roam the earth?
Is that a dinosaur on your necklace right there? What
do you
is
ever
that?
Think? Do you think the dinosaurs roam the earth?
I'm not here to talk about dinosaurs. You want to know what happens when you speak truth to power? Everything this guy just said. I've been censored, I've been imprisoned, I've been assaulted, I've had my businesses shut down. This guy's dealt with nothing except cucking to his wife's boyfriend.
I see those 60 days in federal prison weren't kind to you. I'm sorry. Ooh.
First, defending Kamala Harris, he is a juggernaut political streamer and debater. He's been banned on Twitch. Destiny, Stephen Bunnell, and on the other side, defending Donald Trump, he is a reporter and investigative journalist for InfoWars. He has been banned on all social media except X. Owen Shroyer, please join me in welcoming both of our speakers, Owen and Stephen.
A real clap back.
So, I'm going to read our official resolution, which is, should Donald Trump or Kamala Harris be the 47th President of the United States? As for the format, we'll have 7-minute openings, starting with Destiny. Then we'll have 5-minute rebuttals. We'll have a prepared question for Destiny. He'll have 5 minutes to respond to that, and Owen will have 3 minutes to respond to that response. Then we'll have a prepared question for Owen, where he will have 5 minutes to respond, and then Destiny will have 3 minutes to respond to his response, followed by 15 minutes of open dialogue, 30 minutes of audience Q&A, and then 3 minutes of closing statements for each speaker. So with that, gentlemen, thank you both for being here. I'm going to kick it over to Destiny for his 7-minute opening statement. Stephen, the floor is all yours.
So I've written out a whole opening speech here, but then I realized that MAGA conservatives don't really care about facts, so I figured I'd just keep it short and simple so we can get to the crossfire section. I think the argument for Kamala over Trump is pretty simple. I think the number one point that everybody should keep in mind is Trump is a loser. He lost elections. He lost candidates that he supported lost elections. He's lost court cases. He's now a convicted felon. He has lost 2, almost 3 wives. We'll see what Melania does after the current election season ends. He has lost businesses. He's filed bankruptcies. He's basically lost in every single way that you can conceive a person could lose. He's lost as a leader. He wasn't able to pass any legislation. He wasn't able to do anything about the ACA. Just like Sean's not able to do anything about this mic feedback. He's working on it. Yeah, just Trump is just, even if you support the policies ostensibly that Trump stands for, although that might change from one day to the next, he might come into office saying that he wants to destroy the ACA, fail to do that, and then now try to take credit for pre-existing conditions or price capping insulin. Even if you support him for whatever policies he says he does support, he's not the guy to do it. He couldn't do it when he was in office for 4 years. I don't know why we think he would do it in another 4 years. I always thought that the funniest slogan that Donald Trump had was using "Make America Great Again" the second time he ran for office. What happened? I think that Kamala Harris is a winner. People might try to say that she slept her way to the top or make other weird accusations of nepotism, like what plagued Trump's administration. But the reality is, Kamala Harris got elected not once, not twice, not 3 times, 4 or 5 times if you count her being on the VP ticket. She won her election for a district attorney in San Francisco. She won 2 elections for attorney general in California. She was elected the junior senator of California, and she was the vice president on the ticket with Biden. So the difference is clear. Trump takes absolutely no accountability for any of his actions, and the people around him know that they have no accountability for any of his actions. When Donald Trump does a crime, what does he say? He says the judges are biased against me in every state court, in all the federal court. He says that I need immunity from criminal activity because I can't be prosecuted for it. I'm the president. He apparently believes that he can psychically declassify documents so that he can avoid responsibility for hiding stuff in his shoddy residence in Mar-a-Lago. There is just zero accountability anywhere. When you look at Trump and you say, why did you fail as a leader? Well, it was because of the swamp. Look at all these people I had to fire. Dude, you hired them. You can't take credit for firing people that were part of your cabinet. These are your picks. And again, to return to the first point, what's going to change this time? Is he going to magically get rid of the swamp now? He couldn't do it in 4 years. We're supposed to believe he can do it in 4 more. Even if you're a conservative, why would you think that Donald Trump is the guy that's going to get the job done for you? Kamala Harris is accountable. Not only did she rise through the ranks and win elections on her own, by her own merit, not through any weird conspiratorial nonsense, not through any crazy MAGA movement, not by partnering up with creepy weirdo billionaires like Elon Musk, but by winning her elections and doing a good job. You can also see that the Democratic Party holds their own accountable, and they have a wide tent of voters that they draw from that they have to maintain their accountability to, as opposed to Trump's camp that is dwindling by the day. Who we can go to the people who support Trump. Maybe that'll come up at some point here. No one around Trump vouches for him. Where is Pence? How do you have a president who was the president of the United States with a vice president who's not running with the same vice president? What happened to him? Well, what happened to him was Trump was kind of hoping he would get killed on January 6th. He sat there and he watched on TV for 3 hours while people like Owen cheered others going into the Capitol, rioting, delaying the certification of the vote. He sat there and he watched it happen. He tweeted out that Pence failed us while Pence was in a bunker underneath the Capitol, saying that he didn't want to leave the Capitol because he didn't want rioters and people around the world to see that the American election, that the American transfer of power had been disrupted by a bunch of MAGA sycophants. The comments of even the people that are considered Trump's most ardent supporters today are comments that would get you laughed at if you made them as a leftist, right? You have a bunch of other comments. Elon Musk called Trump a stone-cold loser when he refused to say that he lost the 2020 election. Vance has a number of quotes about Trump. He wasn't sure if he was I think just a Nixon-type character or if he was going to be America's Hitler. These are statements from his own current vice presidential running mate, because he can't use Pence again because Pence hates him. Again, this is his vice president. Mark Milley referred to Donald Trump as a fascist. You've got all these people in his administration that were thought to have been the biggest supporters of Trump, people that others were worried about, like Bill Barr, who resigned from the administration with weeks to go before the transfer of power because they couldn't stand him trying to weaponize the Department of Justice so much. And then you look on the other side, and you've got Kamala Harris, who has support all the way from Cheney to AOC, from the United Auto Workers to Taylor Swift. There's no comparison to be made between what people around these people are saying. There's no other industry where you would say, oh, that guy, his boss hates him and all of his coworkers hate him and everybody that worked with before hates him, but this time he's going to have a whole new set of employees. He's going to have a whole new boss, a whole new organization. It'll be way better this time, I promise. You would never give anybody that kind of chance. Trump is a scammer. Why would you want to, This guy who's running for office is selling you pieces of how many suits? How many fucking suits does this guy own? He can sell you like so many different slices of them. Jesus Christ. $5,000 suit pieces. My God. I mean, at least he's big enough now that I guess he's got a lot of suit pieces to sell. That's not including the $100,000 gold watches. That's not including the $3,500 gold coins, the $100 silver coins, this whole new crypto scam that he started where him and his cronies have 70% of the initial coin pool. If you don't know, you'll learn in the future because it's coming out for the IPO for this coin. That's called a rug pull, my friends. That coin is going to come out and the price on that is going to go up and then super down as everybody that buys in gets scammed and loses all their money, which is, I guess, an analogy for all the Trump supporters that I guess exist today. Trump has no policies. We don't get to have policy debate in the United States anymore because instead we're talking about fictitious hurricane machines that are being spun up so that Biden or Harris can steal the lithium deposits from North Carolina. We don't get to talk about how Roy Cooper and Kemp and McMaster and DeSantis all said, DeSantis called me. He already called me. The federal government's doing everything they can do. Instead, you've got people that are fighting with FEMA now outside their houses because they don't trust the government response. And then you've got Donald Trump on TV saying that he would withhold aid from states like California if they don't play ball with him, if they don't play politics with him. It's insane. Every accusation that the Conservative Party makes is a confession to their own amoral behavior, and you can see it on TV. These aren't even things that we have to dig for. You can just watch what they say openly. I think that Kamala Harris is just a better leader in every possible measure that you can make when it comes to, I think, leading the United States, when it comes to the future of this country. I think she's got a better vision for America. I think she's got a better record. Despite the claims of being a DEI candidate, she's infinitely more qualified for the position than Donald Trump is. And I think that she has a better overall plan for America than Trump does, whose plan, as far as I can tell right now, consists of basically shitposting on X and I guess doing a 20% tariff across the board. My final quote, I would like to leave this quote from a very famous Biden speech that he made in 2022 that I think fits today more than ever. MAGA Republicans have made their choice. They embrace anger. They thrive on chaos. They live not in the light of truth, but in the shadow of lies. But together we can choose a different path. We can choose a better path forward to the future, a future of possibility, a future to build, a future to dream, and a future to hope. And I think that Kamala Harris represents that hope way more than Donald Trump, who only seems to be interested in tearing down and attacking Americans rather than building anything great up.
Thank you very much. Opening Stephen. We'll kick it over to Owen. Thank you very much. The floor is all yours now, Owen, for 7 minutes for your opening.
He starts off his opening statement saying MAGA people don't care about facts. We'll see who cares about facts during the course of this debate. Then you bring up his wives. Is that really a topic of conversation you want to get into? Wives? Yeah, I don't think so. He then talks about losses when I'm pretty sure you've lost every debate that you've had. So I don't know if you want to talk about losses either. You then mentioned Kamala being a winner. Maybe you can ask me a question. What primary did she win? What state did she win? Did she even get a single vote during the campaign process? The answer, of course, is no, she didn't. And this is the party that wants to protect democracy. He also says she's the most qualified to be president. Well, what are the qualifications? Kamala Harris has worked as a government employee her entire life. She's worked for the government. So yeah, if you want a permanent government bureaucrat, lawyer running the country, then yeah, Kamala Harris is your person. I don't really think that qualifies you. I think that qualifies you to get the hell out of government, because I think we can all admit that the government is corrupt. I don't know, maybe he likes the government. That'd be an interesting spot to take, but maybe that's where we're at here with the American left. So Trump actually comes from the private sector. He knows what it takes to build a business. He knows what it takes to fail and succeed at business. He's been doing it for decades. To me, that actually qualifies you. He's somebody that actually has to deal with people on the ground. That's why when he goes out in public, you can tell he's a very relatable, personable person. When people like Kamala Harris or Tim Walz go out, they have to force it, and it's really quite an embarrassment. We have a rare election. We've had 4 years of a Trump presidency, and we've had 4 years of a Biden and Kamala Harris presidency, and the results are in. You ask anybody who's fair and neutral and not politicized, and they will tell you their life has been better under Donald Trump. The economy was better. Disaster response was better. We started no new foreign wars. It's amazing The American left used to be anti-war. When George Bush was in office, when Dick Cheney was in office, when John McCain was involved in politics, they were all anti-war. And by the way, they would have called those individuals war criminals. Now they beg for their endorsement and they celebrate when they get it. They don't even know where they are anymore. So I'll take no more wars. I'll take a secure border. I'll take a booming economy any day over whatever the hell we've had for the last 4 years with Biden-Harris, where the whole thing was just a fraud anyway. Now it's coming out that these two never even got along to begin with. To say the MAGA movement is dying is to just deny reality. To say support is dwindling is to just deny the reality of the situation. Trump is actually doing better in the polls now than he did in 2020 or 2016 or any point in the 2024 election cycle. In fact, if you want to talk about poll numbers, Kamala Harris had the lowest approval rating of any vice president in American history. And they even wrote stories in left-wing publications that the Biden team was thinking about removing Kamala Harris from the vice presidency because her approval ratings were so low. But as soon as the media says jump and support Kamala, they all get on board, just like that. Now, there's a couple misrepresentations in some things he just said. First of all, my activity on January 6th, and I'm sure he's well aware of this, or he just didn't do the research. I was not encouraging people to go into the building. I am, in fact, on video telling people not to go into the building and steering people away from the Capitol. So that's the fact of that. But let's just put something into perspective. The American left loves to pretend like they're the anti-establishment, yet here they are supporting the lifelong government presidential candidate. They love to pretend like they're the freedom warriors, yet he's going to attack me because I've been attacked by the government. Yes, that's right. I was put in prison for my government speech. I was censored all across the internet for my speech. So if there is a freedom fighter on this stage, it's me, not him. Then he says hurricane machines. Another misrepresentation that comes right out of the mouth of the mainstream media. Are you denying that there are weather modification programs? Okay. Of course there are. There are multiple patents for weather modification. I've even attended government hearings. This is hilarious. After the show, I'll share all of this with you. I have attended government hearings in the state of Texas, the Texas Weather Modification Program. That is a government program. Anybody can go to these meetings. I went and I recorded it live. You can pull it up on YouTube right now. I even know they even publish the chemicals they spray. Lithium, barium, aluminum, amongst others. Bill Gates goes out and talks about how we can blot out the sun to stop global warming. They've done mainstream news hits like on CBS with Professor Kariakou about weather machines. China has giant weather machines where they pump water vapor into the atmosphere to cause rain. This is public information. This isn't up for debate. And you notice how he hangs his head when I talk about this. So here we are again. Who's denying facts? So they misrepresent it. They call a hurricane machine to deflect off the fact that there are government weather modifications programs. Now, you're going to talk about conspiracy theories. Did they make this hurricane worse? Did they not? I don't know. I don't claim to believe that. But again, there are lithium mines right over where Hurricane Helene hit the mainland. That is a fact. I'm not making anything up. That is a direct fact. So they can deny these things as much as they want. But that's just in response to what he just said. Let me explain why I like Donald Trump. I like Donald Trump because I don't like the government, and the government doesn't like Donald Trump. I like Donald Trump because my entire life, politics has been nothing but corruption, lies, and scandal. And as soon as I was growing up and I realized this, I said, we need a man who's got billions of dollars, who can self-fund his own campaign. We need a man who has name recognition, who can get on a ticket and beat all the political propaganda. That man was Donald Trump. And then he did it. He did it in 2016, he did it in 2020 when they stole it, and he's going to do it again in 2024. So yeah, when I see the entire corrupt government coming after one man, when I see them trying to shoot him in the head and kill him, yeah, that's total confirmation that he is the right guy. Now, I'm not here to tell you he's perfect. I'm not here to tell you I agree with all of his policies. I just know he's a man who's not controlled like most of our politicians. He's going to put America first, unlike any of our politicians in my life, and he already has a track record of making this country better. The mainstream media is corrupt. They hate Donald Trump. The government establishment is corrupt. They hate Donald Trump. So when the enemies of America are going after him, I think that's proof positive that he is the candidate we need. But if you don't want to go down those lines, we have a 4-year track record of Trump. We have a 4-year track record of Harris, and I think enough has been seen.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, we don't like the government so much, then just don't participate. No one's forced to get anybody. You don't have to vote for anybody. You don't have to run for any offices. Just, I don't know, fuck off to the corner and be sad and mad. Rigged and not working and whatever, just do that. The idea, like everything he said, is just, I don't know where to start. Self-funded his campaigns. He self-funds his campaigns, then why does he have PACs? Why does he have super PACs? Why does Elon Musk donate so much money for him to get elected? Why is he selling 50 million different, why is he selling 50 million different products? Well, funnily enough, that's just to enrich him personally. Whoa, hello? I guess those are just for personal enrichment, because actually when you go on those websites and you look and you see for any of the things that he, here, this is feedbacking. For any of the products that he's selling, all of those explicitly are marked just for him personally. They say they have nothing to do with the any kind of election campaigns at all. If you don't believe me, just go to the sites. Google Trump watches, Trump sneakers, Trump suits, Trump NFTs, Trump crypto, whatever. All of them will say they're not associated with the campaign. So I guess he's just personally enriching himself off of his election run. That doesn't sound not corrupt to me, but okay. When we talk, there's so many delusional conservative talking points. The no new wars.
I knew he was going to hit on that.
War since World War II. What does no new wars mean? Was it no new wars when Trump bombed an airport in Syria? Was it no new wars when we assassinated Soleimani in an Iraqi airport? Was it no new rules when Trump peeled back some of the transparency on the drone strikes in Yemen that it took Biden to end? Was it no new wars when Iran was bombing Saudi Arabia? Was it no new wars when we abandoned our Kurdish allies to Turkish attacks when they invaded Syria? Is it what are the no new wars? It's like the weirdest game of semantics in the entire world. There was absolutely military conflict that was happening overseas under Trump, but to pretend otherwise is to be delusional, which I guess is to be MAGA. When we talk about January 6th, I see we still have this idea that the election was stolen. What happened? Where was the proof? Where was the Kraken? Why is it that people like Powell and Eastman and Giuliani and Trump promised us all this evidence, all these court cases? Court. What happened? Most of these cases had evidentiary hearings. There was nothing. It would be an affidavit of a person seeing something going into a mail truck and saying, I think that these are stolen ballots, with no evidence, without even knowing what a ballot looks like. You can hear all of this. All of this footage is freely available on YouTube. You can listen to them present their case in front of state legislatures, in front of courtrooms. Giuliani doesn't know Giuliani doesn't even know how to present a criminal case anymore, apparently. You can listen to Giuliani when they were presenting it in front of the Georgia court, when they were talking about the State Farm videos, and they were talking about the ballots pulled underneath the from underneath the table with the cloth over it. I think half the people in here probably still believe that those videos showed something. They don't. 4 hours later, Gabriel Sterling literally showed the 20-minute cut from those videos where you could see that the ballots were just put right underneath the tables and then taken right out as they were told to continue counting because there were so many ballots that came in. Every single one of these weird conspiracies about election fraud, all of them were debunked within hours of them coming out. People still believe them. People still spread them. Because remember, when the truth isn't good enough for a person to make money on, they have to sell you a lie, which is what Trump's campaign is all about. It's about lie after lie after lie. Nobody up here is talking about whether or not cloud seeding is real. Nobody here is talking about whether or not you might be able to influence the amount of precipitation a place receives. People are talking about the conspiracy that you are alluding to, even though you're trying to be tricky and pretend you're not, that the government was creating hurricanes to steal lithium from itself? I don't even know what the conspiracy is here. Like, if the government is so powerful that they can create hurricanes that I guess got degraded into a Cat 3, I don't know, maybe they didn't have funding for the hurricane machine, I guess. I guess so if they're sending hurricanes, why wouldn't they just buy the company or steal it that way? If Hillary Clinton is strong enough to kill Seth Rich and Podesta and them are doing satanic sex rituals, wouldn't they just like take a 20% cut of the company that was mining the lithium? Like, these conspiracy theories aren't even good anymore. At least like Jews doing 9/11 made sense because, oh, Israel's trying to get us to attack the Middle East. Okay, at least like stealing the oil made sense because, oh, you know, we have to go and we have to steal the oil because it helps our country. But now the conspiracy theorists don't even believe that oil is what it is. They don't even believe in dinosaurs. They think that oil is like a self-replenishing resource that comes from the fucking ground. He probably believes this. It's just
oil is actually dinosaurs.
he doesn't believe. If you have conservative family members, you ask them, do you believe in dinosaurs? They don't believe in dinosaurs anymore. It's not a real thing. And oil is a self-replenishing material that comes from the ground. Yeah, Donald Trump tried to steal the election on January 6th. He created
hilarious.
fake slates of electors. Every time you guys go to vote for president, you vote for the electors, and then they fill out their vote, and then the governors on December 14th, they say, okay, cool, we see the vote, we're sending it to Congress. Donald Trump had like 79 different electors attest to being the actual electors. In Michigan, these guys talked about, let's hide in the basement of the Capitol, and then we'll come upstairs and we'll fill out our certificate on December 14th to make it more legitimate. He had these. These are made. You can go online. You can Google them. You can look at them. They are fake slates of electors with people that perjured themselves. There's a reason why Giuliani is now disbarred. Sidney Powell is now disbarred. Eastman is facing disbarment. Donald Trump has 34 felony convictions. He's facing 3 other cases, and his only defense is I need to have criminal immunity for all of my behavior. There's a reason why these people that say Biden has weaponized the DOJ sit by quietly while his son is literally convicted of crimes. Meanwhile, Donald Trump pardons every single crook that worked with him, every single person that refused to answer to subpoenas for the very investigation involving his election corruption, who came out and said to the media, Roger Stone said, I'm not going to squeal on Trump. And then he doesn't. He gets held in contempt. And then Donald Trump pardons him. This is insane. To say that this is the party of law and order, I don't remember when the Republican Party became so deranged and unhinged, where they cheered on people attacking police officers, where they cheered on a president who pardons military contractors who were accused of killing civilians in Iraq. It's just Trump's entire campaign and legacy is absolutely insane. And I don't know why we would think, I guess like the central question I would have is, if you are a conservative, I can understand not wanting to vote for Harris or Biden. Fuck, Harris is a little bit too left for me when it comes to economic policy. I don't deny that. And I can understand if you're a conservative why you'd be uncomfortable voting for her. But why would you think Trump is your guy? He had 4 years to do it, and he failed. The end of his campaign, the end of his 4 years was marked with what? BLM riots and COVID lockdowns and an inability to problems facing the country. And I just don't know why we would expect to see anything else.
We'll kick it over to Owen for his 5-minute rebuttal as well. Thanks, Owen. The floor is all yours.
Okay.
Oh, you have to flip the switch, the horizontal switch.
All right. Wow. So that's funny. The last thing you referenced, BLM, left-wing terrorism, and then you mentioned all of the lockdowns and the mask mandates and the vaccine mandates, again, all Democrat Party policy. So now you're arguing for my side. And you mentioned law and order. If you look at every Democrat-run city in this country, you will find chaos, destruction, degradation, poverty, and crime. It's just a fact. So, okay, law and order, again, how can you be a Democrat and talk about law and order when everybody knows that the blue cities are the most dangerous places to live? You've already sacrificed the point on weather modification, so I appreciate that. You know, the problem is, all of your viewpoints come from the mainstream media. And so I don't know when you've all of a sudden just blindly trusted government or blindly trusted the mainstream media, but it seems like that's where you're at in your life based off of the things that you're muttering and stuttering up here at 500 words per minute. Ooh. So I think that that's your problem. Now, Trump is the only person who got into government, specifically the White House, and lost money. He's the only one. Every other president, including Barack Obama, has come out with hundreds of millions of dollars, okay? So that's another fact. Of course, you would want us to sit out politics, because when we get involved, that's when you guys lose. But to say that I can just sit out and avoid the government and avoid politics, well, what exactly are you proposing? Yeah, I guess I could go be a homeless person in a blue city and live on a river, but I don't want to do that. I want to be part of civilization. I want to be part of the United States of America, and I have to pay taxes if I want to work and build something. I don't want my taxes going to foreign countries. I don't want my taxes going to foreign wars. I don't want my taxes going to illegal immigrants, non-citizens, and the list goes on and on. So no, I'm not going to sit out. I'm going to restore and reform the republic. That's what we're trying to do here. And this issue, you bring up wars. There was no war in Israel when Trump was president. There was no war in Ukraine when Trump was president. Both of these wars have accumulated for more than $200 billion. $200 billion. I imagine at some point in tonight's conversation, he's probably going to bring up free health care or some other social service. Maybe not, but let's just say that he does, because that's what the left loves. When they bring that up, I would love one time one time for them to talk about all the foreign aid that we have allocated every single year. Billions of dollars, now hundreds of billions of dollars under the Biden-Harris administration. Don't talk to me about free stuff, healthcare, education. Don't ever bring that to me until you cut the foreign spending. You're never going to convince me to give any of that money until we cut the foreign spending. Then you want to bring these hundreds of billions of dollars back in? Okay, maybe. But all this stuff you brought up about wars in the Middle East, again, Bush, Cheney, McCain, who all endorsed Harris now. They're all on the Harris side. So that one doesn't really hold water. Clearly, you did not pay attention to the 2020 election and the aftermath because you don't know what you're talking about. There were multiple sworn affidavits. There were dozens of them. There were cases where they presented all the evidence. And in fact, there were multiple cases that resulted in charges, including in Fulton County, Georgia, Atlanta, where they were double and triple counting ballots because that's a blue area, so they count them as many times as possible to run up the lead for the Democrats. And anybody who looks at the graph from the 2020 election results will see in the 4 key states, one pattern happened every time. In Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, Donald Trump was winning the entire day. The entire day. And then right at 3:30 in the morning, in each one of those states, the perfect amount of votes came in for Biden, and the graph shot literally straight up. Literally. You are not being honest with yourself if you don't look at that and say that's some sort of an anomaly right there. When Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa both hit 62 home runs in the same season, the anomaly was steroids. There were vote steroids for Biden that year, and anybody who's not observing that and being honest about it is just either not looking or, again, not being honest about it. So I think we're probably ready for questions now. I've just responded to all his comments.
Got it. Thank you very much for that rebuttal as well. We're going to jump into the prepared questions. So I'm going to read these as loudly as I can. This first question, of course, Stephen will get 5 minutes to respond, and then Owen will have 2 minutes to respond to him. The first question, of course, Trump's 2016 border wall.
We're gonna have to strain to hear what he's saying, though.
Quote, complete waste of money. Why should Kamala's plan to have a wall between Mexico and the United States now be considered a good idea?
Was that audible to everybody?
You're able to read it out, actually.
Sure. So I think the question was in 2016, I think Democrats said that it was a waste of money, it wasn't a good idea, and then now that Kamala's proposing a wall, why is it now a good idea? Was the gist of the, the idea that immigration policy could be boiled down to having a wall or not is childish. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into making good immigration policy. But the reality is most people, especially conservatives, don't think that illegal immigration is a big problem in the United States right now. It's very, very, very easy
That's
to prove
a lie.
this, because if you look at what happened on the border,
sorry to say,
you
but
saw that there
that's
was
a
a
pure
bill
lie.
in Congress
Every
to address those issues at
conservative
the border.
hates
Everybody
illegal
was on board with
immigration.
voting for this
Every
until Donald Trump
conservative
came in and said, no, I need you to keep the border open because I need to run on this as an election issue. You can listen to McConnell talk about it. You can listen to Cruz talk about this. All of this is open testimony. It's not even testimony. People just say it to the media. Donald Trump said, I can't have you pass this border bill because it's going to make it so that I don't have something to run on. That doesn't sound like a very big problem to me. That sounds like politicking. Much the same, when Donald Trump was in office, Donald Trump didn't do any of the things that he said he would do at the border. He didn't get any legislation passed. He didn't make any substantive changes legislatively or through the legislature by working with them to actually effect any good border policy. He didn't get any money from Mexico. That was a complete and total lie. He failed on basically every single measurable outcome. He wasn't able to do anything. So again, if you think that the border is a problem, why would Trump be your guy to fix it? He did nothing except for what he could with executive action.
Trump is exactly the guy
he's not
to
able
fix
to lead
the
the
border
Congress in getting
problem.
any comprehensive immigration stuff done. And the one time there was a good bill on the table that would have alleviated a lot of the issues with the asylum-seeking process, he shot it down. This guy over here is probably very keen to misinfo a lot of the stuff about the border bill, so I'll get ahead of a few of it because I know a lot of the dumb talking points, like the $200 billion in aid, the majority of which is used weapons, which last I checked can't help anybody with their health care in the United States. But for instance, when people talk about the border bill, they'll say stupid things like, well, that bill would have let 5,000 people a day in. No, what that bill would have done is if the caps hit a certain level or exceeded a certain level, the federal government would have been able to unilaterally shut the border down, which would have actually prevented more people from coming in if numbers got too high until the numbers had come back down. This bill would have allowed for more asylum judges to be paid for so that we could work through the backlog of people better. This bill would have allowed for more border security and for more people to prevent people from coming over illegally across the border. This bill would have helped a lot of the problems with the border, but Republicans were more keen to see a fight over politics rather than alleviating the problem. So I guess it was never really that big of a problem to begin with.
Thank you. And Owen, you have 3 minutes to respond.
Well, that's just a blatant misrepresentation of the congressional bill. It was never going to permanently shut down the border. It was going to set a cap per day, which would have maxed out still over 1 million border crossings per year. And they love to play this game with asylum. They're basically just rewriting the laws, and so anybody can seek asylum. Anybody can get on the app, the CBP One app, and claim to be an asylum seeker. This is not asylum. Asylum seekers go to their bordering country. That's an asylum seeker. These are people who are coming to the United States of America for free food, free health care, a hotel to stay at, and a free transportation trip wherever they want to go. That's why they're coming here, and they basically rewritten the laws where everybody is rubber stamped as an asylum seeker. So you can sit here and say, oh, asylum seekers, asylum seekers. Well, anybody and everybody from all across the planet can come here and now claim to be an asylum seeker, and you're just rewriting the phrase and the concept of illegal immigration. But you're just wrong. It's still over 1 million a year on this bill, but still you're completely misrepresenting it. The reason why the Republicans decided not to vote for this bill is because it did include all the pork barrel spending. This is how corrupt Congress is, and both sides do it. The Republicans and the Democrats do it. They've been doing it for years. They just tried to do it again on the continued resolution, but they couldn't even get the SAVE Act passed. So they'll have a bill with a major issue. Let's say it's border security. And then they'll pork barrel funding of all these different projects, all these different things that a governor over here might want, a representative over here might want, a senator over here might want. And they toss it all into this bill and they say, this is the border security bill. And then if you don't sign it, you're not for border security. And it's just a game. It's a game that our politicians have been playing against us, all of us, for years. So, yeah, I'm glad that the Republicans didn't do it in a rare moment, but yeah, are they still going to get the pork barrel they want? Yes. Are we still going to get all the illegal immigration that they want? Yes. So we still lose on that issue. Now, again, to sit here and pretend like the border was less secure or not secure under Donald Trump is just not being honest
at all.
The numbers are proven that the border crossings were down under Donald Trump.
Even on the news, we all saw it.
And every year since the Biden administration, the Biden-Harris administration has been in power, you've had a record number of illegal crossings.
That's
3
true,
straight years. And by the way, where are the 325,000 missing children that they have let in? Why did Kamala Harris cancel the border wall construction that was already paid for but now pretends to do it? It's because she's a flip-flopper and she'll say whatever she needs to get fools like this to vote for her.
Now a question for Owen. This was prepared earlier, and the question for you, Owen, is, while no taxes on tips nor on overtime from Donald Trump may help many Americans with the current high cost of living, many other Americans don't receive tips on the job and don't work at an hourly rate. Are there any blanket policies that would help Americans as a whole deal with the currently higher cost of living?
Absolutely. And in fact, Trump needs to go a lot farther with this. No taxes on tips might have been a lucky strike for Donald Trump, since this election will likely come down to Nevada, even more specifically Las Vegas, where most people work for tips. That's why Kamala Harris was so quickly to steal that policy, because they're well aware that Las Vegas could end up deciding this election the way the Electoral College might go. No, I think it's pretty clear. And again, this isn't a Republican thing. This isn't a Democrat thing. This isn't a conservative, liberal, left, right. This should be all Americans. Everybody should agree with what I'm about to say. By the time it's all said and done, we're taxed at about a 30% rate. By the time we buy things, sell things, spend things, earn money, whatever it is, you're taxed at about a 30% rate. That is astronomical, okay? What we need to do is a flat tax, and I would just say just a sales tax, and that's it. We should have no income tax, no federal income tax, no state income tax, no tax on tips. You should be able to make a transaction without the government getting involved 5 times, reaching into your pocket and shaking you down like the mafia that it is. So if we need tax for certain things in civilization, we can have a small sales tax, and that would be more than enough to still pay for the roads, the police officers, and everything else. It would be more than enough. Yeah, we might not be able to afford all the wars overseas. Yeah, we might not be able to give Ukraine $200 billion and Israel $10 billion every time they come to Washington, D.C. Yeah, we might not be able to afford that. Oh, well, I think the American people will be able to get over that, quite frankly. So, no, I don't think it goes far enough. And this whole concept that I always hear these talking points from the left, oh, the rich don't pay their fair share. Well, what is the fair share? What is the fair share from the rich? They already pay the most in taxes by far. The rich pay 90% of the taxes, but this is still solved with a flat sales tax, because who's going to be taxed more on a flat sales tax? The rich. Who's going to be buying a yacht? The rich. Who's going to be buying a skyscraper? The rich. Who's going to be buying a jet? The rich. So it really knocks out all the problems. It takes care of the left wanting the rich to pay more taxes because they buy more things, spend more money, and it gets the government out of the middleman and the middle class and the lower classes' lives where we're not spending as much on taxes either. So it's a nice policy to get a talking point started. It's a nice policy that could end up determining the results of this election, but this is beyond party lines. We are taxed way too much. We need to cut taxes down to almost nothing. And by the way, for all these people that want more government services and all this thing, why don't they just volunteer to pay more taxes? I'm sure the IRS would take your check. But I noticed that all the people that want more taxes, they never volunteer to pay more taxes.
Exactly.
They want somebody else to pay those
they
taxes.
can't even
not
evade
themselves.
the one they're
somebody
paying
else
already.
has to pay those taxes. So I'm not going to do the class warfare crap. Every single American should be upset at how much we get taxed. We used to throw tea in the Boston Harbor for a 2% tax. Now we tax about 30% of the money that we make and spend. It's over the top. It's out of control. We need to cut this thing down. And Trump just going after tips, payroll, and all the other things he's mentioned, I think Social Security, yeah, that's a nice start. Let's keep going. Let's keep cutting. And cut the government down about 98% too, and you won't need all these taxes.
Thank you. We'll kick it over to Stephen for his 3-minute response.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, if you have no understanding of economics, I guess we can say that a flat tax is a good idea. Allow me to introduce a very simple concept. It's called marginal utility, okay? What does marginal utility mean? It means that the next dollar that you have means a little bit less to you than the one that you had before. So what does that mean? Well, if you go to somebody that makes $40,000 a year and you say, hey, give me $5,000, that $5,000 from that person means a whole lot more than you go to a person that makes $500,000 a year and say, hey, give me $5,000. Because the marginal utility of the next dollar that you earn is less and less and less. Once you're making past 7 figures, you might not even miss $10 or $20 or $30,000 missing in your account, because who keeps track of it? Whereas when you're poor, or when you're working poor, or when you're lower middle class, or even middle class, you do notice when there's an extra few $100s that go to a tax, an expense, whether it's childcare, whether it's whatever else. These are costs that everybody has to do.
I agree with his definition of marginal utility.
To function, in order to support
But his
the
logic
successful
after is
businesses
just
and billionaires that we have in our society, some level of redistribution is probably required. Probably doesn't work when you have a society with some people that make billions of dollars, whether that's in the appreciation of assets or whether that's through W-2 wages or whatever, right? Millions of dollars through W-2s, right? And then you have a bunch of people that can barely afford to live in the cities that they are working for these people in. When I stream my stuff on Twitch, or if I stream my stuff on YouTube, I'm not just relying on my stream and the people watching me. I'm not even just relying on the engineers that keep all of that infrastructure working. I'm also relying on the people that keep the buildings clean. I'm relying on the people that work as baristas and servers that serve the people food, that might work in these downtown areas. I'm relying on the bus drivers. I'm relying on the emergency medical services. There's a whole chain of people that exist that make it so that I can do my job that I think it's okay to pay into. And anybody that's in America, a country that allows you to be the best version of yourself more than any other country in the world, I think that when you live in this country, I think that you also do owe a debt to it. And you owe a debt to the people that work in this country and keep it running. And the idea that somebody making over $1 million a year can't pay a little bit more in taxes to keep that country functioning is absurd to me. And then this idea of, oh, well, if you think it's so important, then why don't you just pay more taxes? If there's a stone in the middle of the room and it takes 10 of us to lift it, and there's one guy saying like, hey, we should go lift the stone, you say like, oh, well, why don't you go lift it on your own? It doesn't make any sense, right? A few people saying, okay, well, fine, I'll pay more in federal income taxes doesn't really do anything for the country.
He's
This
talking
idea
on
of the citation
progressive
to the Boston
tax,
Tea Party,
no, the three types
is
of tax:
hilarious, given that
progressive,
MAGA people are
regressive,
some of
and
the least
proportional.
constitutionally respecting people in the history
They are in
of the
support
United
of the
States.
proportional
His president
tax.
literally said he would terminate the Constitution
No one
because he
should
wanted
pay
to go and
more.
find voter fraud.
Everyone
a guy
should be
who
given
gave
the same
a
tax
softball
fee.
question by Sean Hannity,
He's in support of
asking him,
progressive.
hey,
The
when you were
rich
talking
should
about
pay
you know,
more.
what you would do in office, that was a joke, right? And he's like, it was a joke, except on day one, I will be a dictator. Okay, this is the guy that you're going to talk about, and then bring up the Boston Tea Party. Also, the Boston Tea Party didn't happen because of no taxation. It happened because of no taxation without representation. The second part is important. We can consent to being taxed. We can vote on politicians that do taxes. We can vote on politicians that do spending. If you want to do something about the level of taxation as well, you have to pair it with budget cuts. This idea that Donald Trump is, again, the guy that is going to help you because he's going to cut taxes, where are the budget cuts? What are you actually cutting from the budget? And keep in mind as well that on the federal spending, 25% of this is in our discretionary spending. So when you're crying so much about, oh, foreign aid to Ukraine, which again, you haven't addressed, but it's like 20 billion in cash, not 200, okay? The rest is usually in the form of old armaments, so we have to pay anyway. Where was the spending cuts from Donald Trump? They didn't exist. So what, are we just going to continue to deficit spend 75%?
We have to move. Thank you very much, Stephen.
Can I get a quick rebuttal? Can I have a quick rebuttal?
The open dialogue. We'll have you open the open dialogue as we have 15 minutes devoted to it. This is your chance to start with that rebuttal right now.
First of all, what cities are so expensive to live in? Democrat-run cities. And again, he talks about redistribution.
Is this the open?
You talk about redistribution
Why are
again.
those cities when those cities are expensive, do you acknowledge that those cities produce more economic output for the country than all the red cities? This is what I mean when I say these people don't live in reality. But like, why can't you acknowledge that? Because you'll very quickly say things like, oh, well, there are more homicides in Chicago. Yeah, there's more people that live in Chicago, and Chicago is what makes Illinois all its money. That's where the money comes from, or the blue cities. It's not just blue states that subsidize the existence of red states, which is true. And by the way, all of those governors were so happy for the American Rescue Plan when Biden was there to hand out money to shore up their budgets. But then when you want to talk about expenses and living and all these other things, now you want to talk about how blue cities need to be held responsible, but you don't give them credit for the economic output? It's
So
insane.
it's a nice deflection. So Democrat cities are the most expensive to live in, so I'm glad you at least acknowledge that. And again,
More
you can
expensive to live in the
always
U.S. than Uganda as well, right? It is, right?
So you can always volunteer to pay more, all right? If you want to redistribute wealth, you can be the hero, man. You can empty your bank account right now, but I bet you don't. I bet you're actually living pretty rich. I bet you do pretty well. And you want to bring up the Constitution. The Constitution actually states when the United States government becomes corrupt, it's our duty to reform the government. That's
I'm sorry,
actually
what article
in the
clause is
Constitution.
that? Is to terminate,
Second of
suspend
all,
the rules
you
of
can read it
Constitution?
again.
Which Constitution are we talking about?
We live in a constitutional republic. We don't live in a democracy.
What is
also
the
very-
contradiction there? What do you think? Hold on. What is a republic and what is a democracy?
A democracy is where a bunch of lunatics like you
Whoa.
can vote away my
That
rights.
definition.
A democracy is where 3 wolves and a sheep vote what's for dinner.
Is that Article 5 or Article 6? I don't know what part of the
So you
Constitution.
asked what a democracy
So a
was.
democracy is when
We
multiple
have-
people vote. A republic is when you have representatives that do things for you. We are a representative democracy. That's why we're a constitutional republic. We are both a republic, which just means you're not a monarchy, and a democracy. This idea that we must be a republic because I'm a Republican and we're not a democracy because you're a Democrat is fucking retarded. Come
Okay,
on.
I don't agree with him on that though. Why must you separate it?
So again, we live in a constitutional republic where we have unalienable rights given to us by God, the Creator. Democrats don't want you to know that because they want to be able to vote away your rights, like they want to be able to vote away your Second Amendment rights, vote away your First Amendment rights, and they'll go right down the line, okay? So that's why these people love democracy. Because
When we
they
say
want
vote
to be
away
able
your
to
rights, are we
vote
talking
away your
about
rights.
abortion that we lost to a conservative
What
Supreme Court?
bill-
Are we talking
bill
about the
of
Second
rights?
Amendment when Donald Trump did the bump stock ban? I'm sorry, how
a
were your
bad
gun
ban.
rights attacked under Biden?
It was a bad ban. I
And they
agree.
came under Donald Trump, so why would he be the guy, a guy, no offense, but a liberal from New York, which is what Donald Trump is, that's the guy that you want defending your gun rights?
So you now have the President of the United States and the Vice President and the next would-be Vice President, Tim Walz, have all said they want an assault weapons ban, okay? What even is an assault weapon? Can you tell
It
me?
should be fun.
A scary big black rifle that Democrats have been crying about for 30 years. They haven't banned it yet. I don't think they're going to ban it in this
Very
administration.
intellectual. By the way, what is a rich person's fair share?
What is a rich person's fair share? I think that the level of taxation should match appropriately the spending that we want from our federal government. Also, the reason you asked
So
me an
what
assault
is a
rifle, there
fair
is no
share?
definition
So
for an
what
assault rifle.
is
I
a
acknowledge
fair
that. I
share?
don't want to ban assault rifles. Tim Walz and Kamala Harris both own firearms. Walz is a hunter. When was the last time you saw Trump with a firearm? I watched Roseanne, it was Roseanne, I think, with a firearm, right? Where she almost killed herself on a Twitter video with one? Jesus Christ.
So what, in the Bill of Rights, where is abortion mentioned?
Do you want to get into the constitutional legal construction of the penumbra of rights that are invoked when you try to get like the right to privacy out of the 14th
you said,
of the
you claim there's a right to an abortion. It just
I didn't
doesn't
claim there was
exist.
a right to an
Technically what
abortion.
he said.
Technically, the abortion right comes from a right to privacy, but we'd have to go over Casey and Roe, and I'm sure that you're not familiar with any of those Supreme Court cases, or probably any Supreme Court case. But the reality is that before you had a protected right to seek an abortion, now you don't. Republicans took that from you. Before you had the right to own a bump stock, Donald Trump banned bump stocks through executive action, by the way.
Which lost at the Supreme Court.
Which what?
Lost at the Supreme Court.
Well, that hasn't stopped him in the past from going back over and over again to try to get cases tossed or to try to get
Hey
favorable
man, I don't
rulings,
live in
so-
a cult. I said I have disagreements with Donald Trump. So you can attack me on Trump's policies that I disagree with. That's not a win for you.
Word.
I agree. I can't
Word.
win attacking you on Trump's policies because he has none. I mean, what am I? I mean, yeah. What? What is? Can you give me one? What is one Trump policy that he's running on besides 20% tariffs?
Secure border.
That's not a policy.
Cut
That's like
taxes.
an idea. That's the concept of an idea of a
stopping
policy.
war.
Okay.
This should be fun.
What are Harris policies that are so great?
Well, the three that she listed immediately is she wanted to give a $50,000 rollover deduction to new startups for small businesses.
That was
so
Trump's
they make sure-
idea.
What?
Trump did that. When he was
Maybe
president.
he should have spoke it. I don't know if he's too senile
you
now or
probably
he's
just
lost the
weren't
ability to
watching.
do it. What?
You just weren't watching.
I was watching. Unfortunately, I watched too much Trump. That was one. A second thing she wanted to do was expand the child tax credit, which was incredibly successful
Whoa.
under Biden.
Also a Trump policy.
It wasn't. That's why it happened under
Whoa.
Biden, and it's why the Republicans initially fought against it. Are we going to say that pre-existing conditions in the ACA was a Trump policy now as well? I know that he wants to take care of that one. And then the third thing that Kamala Harris said is she wanted to do a $15,000 first-time home buyer credit to people that were buying homes for the first time. Donald Trump said he wanted
For
to
illegal immigrants.
How does an illegal? I'm so curious. How do you think these tax credits work?
You do realize that they give money to illegal immigrants to buy houses?
I don't think you know how any of this works because I think you were probably born a rich kid and you never bought a house on an FHA loan before. So I had a tax credit when I bought a house. The way that these work is you apply for these refundable tax credits when you get them at the end of the year when you've qualified for them. An illegal immigrant definitionally doesn't file taxes because they don't have social security numbers. They don't get money back from the government. So how would an illegal immigrant qualify for a tax credit? Again, this doesn't make any sense. It's like the hurricane
I agree.
machines.
It doesn't make any sense. This is the Democrat policy. I completely agree. It doesn't make any sense at all. So
Where are
thank
these
you.
lazy people that are coming over and not working and not getting jobs, getting the money for homes?
The U.S. government.
They pay them for the homes too? Then why even give them the tax credit? Why not just give them the homes outright? What
Don't
the
give them
fuck
any
are we talking
ideas.
about?
They might do that next. They might actually do that next.
Where are they
Actually,
getting all
they
these-
do.
Yeah.
Actually, they do. Who pays for the hotels that they're staying at in New York City, in Chicago? Well, who's paying for those hotels? Who's paying for that room and board?
I imagine there's probably federal money allocated to
And
people
where does
that are
the
part of
federal government get its money?
From the, I mean, technically
U.S.
from the U.S.
taxpayers.
Treasury? Sure, yeah.
U.S. taxpayer. So you are paying for illegal immigrants'
Simple.
housing. Thank you very much.
Illegal immigrants staying in apartments and hotels temporarily is not them
They still
buying
have-
homes
they
with the
still
tax
have a
credit.
roof
This
over
is like
their
saying
heads.
we can do
Two
cloud seeding,
separate
therefore
issues.
we've created hurricanes for attacking the United States. You see that it's a mott and belly. It's not the same at all.
Exactly.
Let's just move
Because you won't get anywhere.
Of course. I've been telling Republicans that since the 2020 election, and they still haven't.
This is a good opportunity. Anything that you want to bring up during the open dialogue, Stephen?
Yeah, do we acknowledge that Trump probably lost 2020? Have we gotten over that yet, or?
No, I don't want to relitigate that, but I would be happy to show you the results on the graphs where at 3:30 in the morning in 4 states, Biden's votes go straight up. Is that normal?
No, it's not normal.
So what do you think that is?
I think that just like every single person before the election said, there was an unprecedented amount of mail-in voting.
And they were all for Biden.
A lot of them were. Did you
Of
not
course.
listen?
Of course they were.
Of course they were.
And they all came right at 3:30
because
in the
Donald
morning.
Trump spent a year in the lead up telling his people, don't vote via mail-in ballot.
You are so
Do you remember
gullible,
that
man.
happening? Did you watch Donald Trump for a year
You are
say,
so
we don't vote
gullible.
via mail-in ballot, we go to the polls and vote? And you know why he did that? We know why he did that. Because Roger Stone and Manafort, two corrupt lunatics that Donald Trump has both given full pardons to, by the way, are on recorded audio saying Donald Trump is just going to declare himself the victor on the night of the election because he knows he's going to get destroyed when the mail-in ballots start coming. He
And
knew
did
that
Donald
because he
Trump
told-
declare himself the victor,
because
or did he
told-
leave the White House?
Do what?
Did Donald Trump leave the White House?
After a failed insurrection, yes.
A failed insurrection. Who ran the insurrection?
Donald Trump and the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and everybody that broke into the Capitol and delayed the certification of the vote.
Do you really believe that?
Was the vote certification delayed?
What is an insurrection?
Wait. Was the vote
Was the
vote certification delayed on January 6th?
No, it went through. They certified. Did Trump?
Hold on. I'm so sorry. I don't know who you're answering right now. Was the vote certification delayed? Was Congress called out of session on January 6th?
Yes, I think for a couple hours.
For several hours.
So by the end of the day,
why were they called out of session?
So by the end of the day,
you see how we can't live in reality? You see how this doesn't work? The country doesn't function when you have people
if you want
that
to go
refuse
back and call this an insurrection.
The craziest thing is it's all on video. We've seen all of this.
So
none of this is a mystery.
Tell me what an insurrection is. Just define it for me.
I don't have to define it for you. I'm just asking simple questions. On January 6th, there was a certification of the vote. That vote was disrupted by violence. If you want to get into what an insurrection is, you could say that it was
I thought he said he was not going to define it.
Gathered with a common purpose to use the means of violence or intimidation to disrupt an official federal proceeding, such as the certification of the 2020 vote, the outcome of that election, which is why it would probably qualify as an insurrection.
Okay. How many guns were at this insurrection?
You don't need a gun for an insurrection.
Zero.
Wait, the cops didn't have any guns?
Oh, the cops had a gun. That's right. They killed an innocent person.
So that was what you just said, which is wrong.
That's right. They killed an innocent person.
Shot with a slingshot? What do you mean there were zero guns at the insurrection?
So okay, so the government had the guns. So that's good. So that's what happens when only the government has the guns.
Just to be clear here, none of the people on the grounds of the Capitol had any firearms on them?
No, not a single one.
Really? Not even though the Secret Service said 80% of the people that were at the Ellipse just an hour earlier listening to Trump's speech didn't go through the magnometers because they saw people in the crowd that had firearms they didn't want to go through that all marched to the Capitol building. What, did they drop their gun off at a hotel? Did they give it to a friendly police officer? Did they find a fellow DC BLM guy to hold onto their rifles?
Not a single gun was ever recovered or on record at the January 6th insurrection.
Oh, recovered.
And what type of an insurrection?
How many pipe bombs were found
That's a great question, actually. Who laid those pipe bombs?
We don't know. We never found out.
We don't know. How convenient. The government can recognize somebody's earlobe in a video and track them down and go arrest them in the middle of a hurricane, by the way. The FBI went into North Carolina in the middle of a hurricane and arrested somebody, but they can't find who laid the pipe bombs. They have no idea. And Kamala Harris doesn't remember where she was that day either, even though one of the bombs was allegedly right outside of her office. She has no idea. She's changing her story. But what type of an insurrection?
No one is changing the story. You guys filmed this
Kamala
from start
has
to
changed
finish.
the story.
We can watch you guys cheering for it. We can watch you cheering 1776. What was 1776?
I know you hate 1776.
Wait,
I know you hate that.
What was 1776? What was that?
That was the founding of the country.
Which was it? What was the event? What would you call that?
When we overthrew royalty and created
against the government,
created a constitutional republic.
Would you call that an insurrection?
No.
1776, the revolutionary. You wouldn't call that an insurrection?
So are you pro-insurrection now? You just babble and stammer so much. I can't figure out where you're at. Tell me what kind of an insurrection, when an emergency notice goes out to go home, everybody goes home and calls it a day. Is that
what kind of an insurrection ends when the leader tells his followers to go home? All of them.
Perfect.
That's kind of how it works. That's how a cult works.
So there was no insurrection. Trump didn't want to overthrow the government. Thank you for admitting that. That wasn't too hard to get out of you.
We can't even follow basic logic.
No,
1776 was an insurrection. It was a
now
revolution.
You're deflecting again to 1776.
I'm not deflecting.
So
I'm referring
Trump
specifically.
Wanted to insurrect
it's just
the
funny
government,
that you stand outside saying 1776 and go, well, is this really an insurrection? Well, I don't know. What were we cheering for? The Star-Spangled Banner? Was it choir practice?
Actually, they were singing the Star-Spangled Banner,
yeah,
something
sure.
you'll never hear at a Democrat event.
Mike Pence. When Donald Trump said Mike Pence needs to do the right thing, what was he talking about there? What do you want Pence to do?
So in the history of the United States, there have been multiple times where a party rejects the results of an election, and all 3 times prior to 2020, it was the Democrat Party.
Really? You
want
to let's walk through those. Let's walk through those. You want to go through? You want to go over when it happened in 1960 in Hawaii, when the only reason why they submitted 2 different slates of electors, which were both authorized by the state legislatures, because there needed to be a recount.
I really don't get
that one, or do you want to go back to
Ulysses
S. Grant, the one that happened prior to the ECA even being passed? Right? Where the whole reason why that law was passed was because it was such a clusterfuck of an election. Which one do you want to go to? Do you want to go to Gore, where Gore he gave up that election as soon as he lost to the Supreme Court, where there wasn't even a delay in the electors voting in Florida, let alone a January 6th certification. The problem is you don't know anything. You have no facts for any of this. And the strongest facts that you can attest to, you no longer can because you're scared of being sued again for defamation. So obviously, you're just going to sit here and ramble on some crazy shit. That's why you won't admit that 1776 was obviously an insurrection. That's why you were cheering it on outside when you thought you were going to be the winners of that insurrection instead of the losers, and it's why you won't admit now to obvious facts that are right in front of our face.
Every election in the 21st century, the Democrats have denied they lost.
Which vote
They
certification?
denied that Al Gore lost, they denied that John Kerry lost, and they denied that Hillary Clinton lost. And yes, they went to Congress and tried to stop the certification of the vote.
Really? What did
that
they do
has
for
happened
Gore?
every
What did they
time.
do for Gore?
And they'll likely
Wait,
do the
when did they
exact
stop?
same thing.
There's nothing.
When Trump wins in 2024, they'll likely do the exact same thing, just like Raskin has already said. The Democrats are already plotting not to certify the 2024 election because they know Trump is going to win.
It's fantastic delusion.
It's mainstream news. Anybody can pull it up on their phones right now. Jamie Raskin won't certify election results. Go ahead, plug it in. You got it right there, don't you? Yeah, right there.
Do you think Gogeta or Vegito would win in a fight? It's frustrating. I guess the saddest thing is that as much as I can't stand conservatives because I'm a liberal / progressive, at the very least, I felt like we were all kind of in the same boat. We were all kind of like the same country, and we were all presenting at least a unified front to the rest of the world. That as much as conservatives and Democrats might have hated each other, at least we were all Americans at the end of the day.
And when did that change?
When did that change? Well, a big change.
When Donald Trump became president of the United States. And they lost their mind because they couldn't control him, they couldn't bully him, they couldn't get him to bow down to political correctness, and so this is them, stuttering and spamming all over the place like lunatics, trying to get Donald Trump killed, assaulting Trump supporters, and lost their minds. Why do you think Elon Musk left the Democrat Party? Why do you think Tulsi Gabbard left the Democrat Party? Why are so many Democrats like Vernon Jones leaving the Democrat Party? Because this is your Democrat voter right here. Nobody wants to be a part of this psychotic movement anymore.
Psychotic movement when you guys literally tried. You guys invaded the Capitol.
Your side believes in trans kids.
Who wants to
Your
trans
side
kids?
wants to pay for trans
Most
surgeries
people
in
aren't
the
okay
prisons.
with it. You guys
Your
won't even
side
acknowledge
lets in
what
10
you've
million
done.
illegal immigrants.
Oh
Your
my
side starts
God.
wars all over the world. Our side is the party of sanity and the party of common sense. And if you can't see that in this debate, then you're never going to see it.
You're never gonna. The party of sanity is the party that doesn't believe in dinosaurs and thinks that we create
Dinosaurs.
What are you talking about?
Do you believe in dinosaurs? You think
What
they're
is this
real?
dinosaurs?
Wait,
What are you talking about
do you think
dinosaurs?
the dinosaurs
Do you
ever
play
roam
with
the earth?
dinosaur
Do you
toys?
think the
Why
dinosaurs?
bring this up?
Do you think the dinosaurs
Is that a
ever roam the
dinosaur
earth?
on your necklace right there? What
Do you
is
ever
that?
think? Do you think the dinosaurs roam the earth?
I'm not here to talk about dinosaurs.
How are dinosaurs connected with this?
It's insanity. It's crazy to me.
You know what? You're a political dinosaur. You're stuck in the past. This is the future right here.
You don't even acknowledge the outcome of the last fucking election. How am I the one stuck in the past? You guys lost in 2022 for the same reason.
You believe everything you're told from the mainstream media. You're right. There's no government corruption. They don't rig elections. It's never happened. The government is great, guys. The government loves you so much, and the mainstream media would never lie to you. They would never do that. Come on.
Let's say that I did believe everything from the mainstream media. The mainstream media is a conglomeration of how many different large corporations with how many different editors, with how many different people involved that have how many levels of accountability, as opposed to the alternative media, a company that you just came from that's now bankrupt because the owner got sued for defamation for telling so many
the most
lies.
anti-establishment free speech organization in the world
yes, the freedom
is
of speech guys.
InfoWars.
Yes, the freedom of speech guys.
That's why we get shut down.
True, exactly.
That's why
it
we're
wasn't
under
for telling.
attack.
Yeah.
Of course. You want to know what happens when you speak truth to power? Everything this guy just said. I've been censored. I've been imprisoned. I've been assaulted. I've had my businesses shut down. This guy's dealt with nothing except cucking to his wife's boyfriend.
I see those 60 days in federal prison weren't kind to you. I'm sorry that you weren't able to do the podcast from prison like you wanted to. I know that's still upsetting you a lot. Only one of us up here has been arrested for trying to be a part of a coup or an insurrection against the United States. Only one of us up here hates this country. And I think it's pretty obvious it's the guy that doesn't even acknowledge the results of the last election. One of the most important foundational pieces of the United States.
So stop stealing them. So stop stealing them.
Which is
so stop stealing
no one
them.
is stealing it.
So
no one is
stop
stealing it.
them.
Why don't you vote?
So
Show
stop
up at the
stealing
polls
them.
and vote. Vote via the opportunities that are available to you.
Oh my.
All right, thank you very much.
Man.
And I'll hold on to the microphone just because we want to encourage
was
everybody,
hot.
when you are asking your question, if you could keep it as pithy as possible, getting right to the question. Thank you very much.
Owen, on January 6th, when Trump was saying Mike Pence really needs to come through for us, what did he want him to do?
So leading up to the 2020 election, in the name of COVID, a bunch of states changed their election rules, and they didn't follow the actual laws to do so. They didn't go through the state legislatures. So Donald Trump wanted to have those things reviewed in a legal process, and he needed Mike Pence to refuse to certify the results so the legal investigation could play itself out, something that's happened multiple times in U.S. history. So also, they wanted to review signatures. They wanted to review mail-in ballots, which we now know, thanks to investigations that have been going on for the last 4 years, some ballots were sent from empty parking lots. Some ballots didn't even have signatures on them. And in fact, the illegal votes that were now discovered in Fulton County from 2020 outnumber the votes of margin of victory for Joe Biden. So that's what he was asking Mike Pence to do. Mike Pence should have did it. He refused, and so the rest followed.
So then to reiterate, he was telling Mike Pence to not certify the winner of the election who actually won the election because of his delusional belief that there was voter fraud, of which you're admitting wasn't discovered, I guess, until years later, although that's probably bullshit as well.
Pull it up, it's mainstream news.
It's not.
That's for both.
Yes, literally multiple lawsuits.
All of them failed. Literally every lawsuit has been demolished in every state court. Yeah.
All right, we're going to jump into the next one.
All right, for both of you, what happens to the Republican Party if Trump wins this election? He can't rerun, so what happens after?
Who knows? Everybody around the world, everybody in the United States is looking at the Republican Party for nobody knows what it's going to look like after Trump. If he loses, they don't know if he's going to run again. If he wins, nobody knows if Trump will just be happy to win and be a lame duck, or if he'll go full authoritarian monster mode and try to take apart as much of the government as he can, or what the Republican Party will look like afterwards, because the Republican Party has to fall in line to Trump, or he will destroy your career or destroy your media network. Two things he's done before plenty of times. Who knows?
Just real quickly, Georgia voting fraud allegations result in criminal charges. Georgia Bureau of Investigations, arrest made in Brooks County voter fraud investigation. So I can go on and on. Here's the 19 people charged in Georgia election fraud case. So it's a real story. But I'm sorry, did you say if Trump wins or if Trump loses? If he wins. If he wins. Well, I think what happens is probably the same whether he wins or loses. I think what Trump has done is he's basically remade the Republican Party, and so you kind of have the old neocon establishment type that you no longer see at Republican events anymore. George Bush is not a popular Republican. Dick Cheney is not a popular Republican. John McCain is not a popular Republican. Even Nikki Haley and Lindsey Graham get booed when they go to Trump rallies. So that's kind of the establishment right, if you will. The Republican voter base and really the populism that is behind the Republican Party has now, behind Donald Trump specifically, I think has now taken it over. So I don't think that's going to change. I think future candidates are going to sound more like Donald Trump. They're going to sound more like Vivek Ramaswamy. I think the message is going to be smaller government, true conservatism. I think the message is going to be stop funding foreign wars, foreign aid. I think the message is going to be bring back manufacturing, mostly common sense stuff. But I think that the thrust behind this populist movement is that we understand there's government corruption, we understand that there's mainstream media corruption, and we want a representative as our president, as our representatives in Congress, who know that, who talk like us, who think like us, and aren't going to be afraid to say it out loud. So I think it's kind of a permanent reformation of the Republican Party post-Donald Trump, whether he wins or loses this election.
Fact.
Well, my question is geared mostly towards Shroyer. You mentioned no foreign wars under Trump. In 2017, on Inauguration Day, I deployed and we dropped a record number of bombs in a single deployment on Syria until our record was beat by the Truman the year after that. What do you mean no foreign wars under Trump?
So are you referring to the airstrike on the airport strip?
No.
Which one are you referring to?
Okay,
Okay, so I would say that was a war that he inherited. I would say he didn't start that war. I think it was an inherited war. Now, you can argue whether you think we did good in that or bad in that. We could sit here and argue about the Biden pullout of Afghanistan. I think these were wars that Trump inherited. The decisions he made to try to end them, just like the decisions that Biden made to try to end them, you can debate. But he didn't start any new wars. So I think that's the distinction here. These were wars that were already ongoing for years and years, past administrations, Obama, Bush, Republican, Democrat, didn't matter. So I wouldn't say that that was a started war. These were wars that he inherited. But I think that the general perspective to understand is that you didn't have the massive conflict in Ukraine, you didn't have the massive conflict in the Middle East, which we hope doesn't engulf us now, but they are now sending troops to both of those regions, and so I'd like to see that. I don't think there's enough being done by Trump either to stop these wars, to be honest. I mean, I'd like to see all these foreign wars stopped. I want to decouple from Israel. I want to decouple from the Middle East. I want to decouple from all of these foreign wars. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't even care if it makes us isolationists. We don't need the rest of the world. We can build everything we need here. We have enough energy here.
Agree with that,
I would decouple from all these foreign countries, internalize everything, and get out of all these wars to begin with.
You can't rise alone.
Do we get to answer as well or no?
If you're able to keep the rebuttals as pithy as
quick
possible,
rebuttal.
because
The
otherwise...
fact that there were no wars going on is ridiculous. Crimea was still invaded and held by Russia. The civil war in the Donbass that was being supported by Russia was still going on. And in the Middle East, you had the occupation of Crimea was 2014.
Obama.
Okay, was Trump not president when it was occupied? Exactly. And then the civil war in the Donbass, where Russia continued to escalate by sending in more troops and more forces. Did that happen under Trump?
So this is hilarious.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
say
So
Trump,
it's a pivot.
Russia
And then also
collusion.
for the Middle
Can I
East.
answer? Are you
No,
going to
you
start
didn't
and
answer. You're not
babble?
going to. No,
He's
you're
gonna
not going to
babble
answer
again. He's
because
going to
you don't
start
have an answer to the
babbling like a
question.
baby.
That's why you're
So
doing a ramble
they
right
say
now.
Trump-Russia
There it is.
collusion.
Russia collusion. Holy shit. We got our
When did
joggers
Russia-
on today.
He just admitted
when
it.
it came to the Middle
He
East,
just admitted it.
there was
When
also
did-
still
Oh
conflict
my
in the Middle East. You had Iran attacking Saudi Arabia for the first time ever. You had the entire border riots, Great March of Return, lasted for about a year in Israel. And you still had all the conflict in Syria. So the idea that there was no conflict in the Middle East is also delusional.
Okay, so again, the question was new wars. Russia invaded Ukraine when Obama was president. Russia
They didn't
invaded
invade
Ukraine again
during
when
Trump's
Biden was
reign.
president.
That's just the
Not
fact.
when Trump was president.
That's just the fact. And no new wars. That's just the truth.
When Trump was
It was war already
president,
ongoing, as
when
he
tried to
explained.
isolate America on a global scale from groups like NATO and try to go closer to countries like Russia or China.
Autarky is basically this idea that your country can be its own country and not rely on the rest of the world for anything is stupid. It's subversive to the concept of America, the idea that we are a global trading partner, that we can ensure global peace and prosperity through ensuring trading lanes, ensuring these giant multilateral trade agreements so that we can have access to other people's markets, so they can have access to our markets. You saw what happened when the Houthis started shooting missiles at ships. What happened? The United States showed up and they said, hey, no more of that, and they shut it down. And trade through the Suez Canal continued. We wouldn't be able to do that in an America supported by Trump or Trumples because they believe, somewhat naively, that we can just withdraw entirely from all of the global world markets and still be as good as we are now, that we wouldn't be able to rely on any of the manufacturing from any other country. We wouldn't have access to any of those markets in the way that we do now. Like, why would we want to take our country back so far? You know who tried stepping away from giant unified markets? It was the United Kingdom via Brexit. Their economy is not doing very good right now.
I
so I don't know
agree
why
with
that would be
that
the model that
particular
we try
thing.
to emulate for
Complete
a country who has
withdrawal
built
is
so much
not
success
gonna
off
be
of so
the
much
case.
cooperation with the rest of the world.
The concept for America is actually independence, okay? It's independence. So yes, we can be independence. And I think we learned a lot from this recent port strike where they just ended it a couple weeks ago. We learned that most of these ports are actually owned by foreign companies. That's a problem. We should own all of our ports. We should make money off of all of our ports, and maybe we wouldn't have this issue. But I think that there's a general attitude here. See, I think conservatives versus liberals, if you hear what he just said, conservatives believe we can. We believe in the American people. We believe in American companies. We believe we can manufacture and produce goods just like we've done for years. We used to have manufacturing plants in all the inner cities, and a man could get a job and make a living wage for his family and buy a home. They've all shipped those overseas. We can bring those back. We have plenty of energy here in the United States. We have innovations in energy. We can go nuclear here. We don't need the world. It's true. But that's the leftist liberal attitude is, oh, we need everybody. You need everybody. You need government. You can't make it on your own. You can make it on your own. America can make it on its
I still
own.
don't believe in complete withdrawal, but he does have a valid point.
Hey, Destiny, I love the all green. Owen, maybe we size up on the jacket next time. But my question has to go to... I'm getting there. Thank you. Destiny, you claimed that there was no money being given to foreign illegals for housing. They weren't buying houses. You're correct on that. But Christopher Rufo did a story $3.8 billion from the ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act, was given to the state of Colorado, who in turn gave it to Boulder, Denver. They gave $5 million to resettle migrants. $350,000 of that a week was going out to migrants to pay for them in one apartment building. This was the CBZ, owned by CBZ Management in Aurora. Aurora, right? So this was the same building that was taken over by illegal gangs. I'm wondering how you can sit there and say that there's no American taxpayer money going to these people when they're there doing it and taking over our country, literally.
Okay, so I mean, there's a multitude of problems with the question, but I'll address the question in the best faith. I mean, if money is given to Colorado and Colorado spends that money on illegal immigrants if they choose to do so, I mean, that would be an issue that you would have then with Colorado, not necessarily the federal government. But also, you also said that they were spending the money resettling migrants. That doesn't sound like money spent on illegals. It sounds like money spent resettling migrants, which is not illegals. But if I take the strongest version of your question, I mean, it's pretty undeniable. I'm sure the United States, in some capacity, spends money on illegal immigrants. I know that we provide housing, we provide, I'm pretty sure, food stipends. I know there's like some card that these guys obsess over that asylum seekers get when they come in here and they're waiting for their court cases. Waiting time that would have been dramatically reduced, by the way, if they would have passed the legislation in Congress that they shot down because Donald Trump wanted to keep the border open.
Where did he get that logic from?
I'm sure the United States spends money on illegal immigrants. I'm not saying they don't. I just think that the idea that it's just the illegal immigrants that we talk about are like fucking Captain America. Like, these guys come in and they have like 50 kids, and then they steal all of our welfare, and then they are buying all of our fucking houses, and then they're also working all of our fucking jobs, and they're like, I don't know how they can do fucking everything. I don't know if they maybe the reason why Biden did so poorly in the debate is because all the adrenochrome was going to the crazy, legendary fucking illegal immigrants or whatever. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm sure we spend money on illegals.
But he just said that they don't spend tax money on
I do think
immigrants.
Spending money on America
Contradicted himself.
And I think that's a good argument. I think that when you look and you see, okay, well, even if it wasn't 200 billion, Destiny, it was 20 billion. Why are we spending $20 billion in Ukraine when my neighborhood is fucking falling apart? Or, my city doesn't have the money to pay for these things that I think are important. I think these are good questions, okay? Democrats are not the ones that are trying to cut funding from schools and from cities and from infrastructure and from healthcare. When the fuck was the last time you heard a Republican say, we need to stop funding the war in Ukraine so that we can fund single-payer healthcare? We need to stop giving money to Israel so that we can do something about the homeless or the drug addicted or the mental illness in society. It's never like that. It's we need to stop funding here, and then we need to cut as much spending domestically as possible so that the fucking free market is going to take care of your
Owen
problems?
said they should
What, is
stop
Bezos
funding
gonna walk
the
you to
wars.
the fucking ER and pay for your medical bill? Like, it's just insane. So I agree. I can understand. Like, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. The United States is a huge federal budget. We can pay for a lot of things. And I do think that sometimes our spending is a bit sad. But when you look at who's taking money away from spending on things like healthcare or childcare or any of the multitude of things that we need money spent on in this country, it's not Democrats. It's fucking Republicans. And the idea that cutting funding to some foreign war would all of a sudden open their hearts to domestic spending on welfare is ludicrous.
Actually, I'm a Republican, and I literally just said
exactly
we should
what
take
I
money
said.
from foreign wars and spend it on America. So I literally just said that.
So you'd be for a
And I
public
also
option
think
over
it's
single-payer
funny-
healthcare?
No, I didn't say that either.
Yeah, of course you didn't. Yeah.
But if you have more money in Americans' pockets, they can afford their own health care. See, if you get the government out of the transaction, then Americans have more money.
How does money going to Ukraine come back to American pockets if we cut the funding there?
So if government has $1 million and they spend $500,000 on a foreign country, how much money do they have left?
Well, the government, they run deficits. You should know. Donald Trump had the
So
biggest
the answer,
deficits of all time. So
the answer is $500,000 versus what could have been $1 million. It's basic math. But it's funny, he now admits that we do pay for illegal
I'm sorry,
immigrants.
you said earlier
So
that the
thank you
rich
for that.
people are the ones who paid most of the taxes. So if the
Which they
government
do.
stops spending,
He
then the rich
contradicted
people are the ones
himself.
keeping the money. Are they just going to give it to the poor people?
Which they do. The rich people do pay the most of the taxes. So thank you
For
for
real.
at least bringing a small fact check here, because that's what now he has to admit that yes, we do pay for illegal immigrants.
shouldn't.
And we shouldn't pay for any.
Whether
we
or
shouldn't
not,
pay for a
as
single
he said,
illegal
it should be
immigrant.
with City of
And they love
Colorado,
to play
right?
this game with
Why
they're
did the
migrants
government
or they're asylum
do
seekers.
something
They rewrite
to either
laws, they
sanction the
rephrase
governor
things so
of
they can get away
Colorado
with these
for
excuses.
giving the money
and
to
then
the
use
illegal
their
immigrants? No,
buzzwords
they said
like
they did nothing. So
immigration
you-
reform.
they're fully
We don't
in
need
support.
immigration reform. We need to follow the immigration law. We have immigration laws in this country. There is a waiting process. There's a process you go through to become a citizen. That's what
Exactly.
every person should come into America and go through, versus some select, maybe some circumstances where you come in here on a work visa when you already have a job lined up or you have a job that we need. So they love to play these games. And by the way, Yes, Colorado did have to request money from the Federal Emergency Management Agency. That was literally a request. They had to get the money from the federal government to pay for these illegal immigrants that are all over all of these blue cities. And by the way, you notice another thing too. The Democrats are always complaining about the state of the education in this country, and rightfully so. It's in the tubes. Who runs the education department?
Oh, wow.
The Democrats.
Yeah. Hey, Destiny. I wanted to talk about there's sort of this growing rise in like social conservatism among Generation Z youths. And I sort of wonder as a 22-year-old where I see a future in the Democratic Party for me as someone who kind of leans left economically, more probably left-wing economically, not leans left, but someone who's sort of like center-right socially. And I just don't really see a future right now. And so I'm kind of wondering, should the Democratic Party try and appeal to this growing rise in Gen Z voters? This is according to a Gallup poll and a Pew Research poll done in the last year. Should it try to appeal, or should it just kind of leave us in the dust? Because the Republican Party, I don't see a future where they start caring about Americans and funding single-payer health care and funding housing, unfortunately. But at the same time, I'm a bit unsatisfied with the Democratic Party's social turn. And so, yeah.
I think that the goal should be to tell all of your friends to vote for Kamala Harris so that the Democrats can win with the largest margin possible, so that we can load all of the insane fucking college tankies and progressives up into a fucking Elon Musk spaceship and send them off to the fucking moon, okay? I mean, this is an issue that I talk about a lot. The far left of the party is fucking crazy, okay? That's like, nobody can deny that. I fought with the far left, honestly, probably more than Owen has. When it comes to insane people, there's a reason why I'm banned from Twitch, and it's not conservative, it's because of crazy people on the far left. That being said, something that I think is good to keep in mind is the far left is politically non-existent. There are no far left lawmakers. Even people like AOC and Bernie Sanders now are called Israeli genocide supporters by the far left. All of the college kids have now abandoned, Ilhan and Rashid, like all of the Justice Dems and Bernie are all completely, off the table now. They're not radical enough for them. So I think that trying to win with the largest margin possible, so that on social media we can continue to ignore these people because that's the only place they exist, is important. But the radical element of the Republican Party is like 95% of the party, okay? Like the last YouGov poll I saw, I think said that 25% of conservatives, probably Owen included, believe in satanic sex cults, okay, that like Hillary Clinton and Podesta belong to, okay, where they perform blood sacrifice rituals on children, all right? And 80% of conservatives, Owen definitely included, don't believe in the results of the last election. This is like the big majority bulk of the party, and that is very scary, and it is a huge problem. So I agree, far left is super fucking cringe. I hope that Kamala wins with enough of a margin that we can safely eject these people and never listen to him again. They can all go vote for Jill Stein.
I'd like to address you for a second too, if you wouldn't mind. So I think what is important for young people, you can stand, you can sit, it doesn't matter. I think what's important for young people to understand is the broad difference between what the right wants to do politically and what the left wants to do politically. You're going to have issues you agree with some leftists on, some conservatives on, and that'll probably go on the rest of your life. You're more of a centrist. But I think you need to understand what the core is of the modern day left, and this rings throughout history. The American left, the Democrat Party, cannot exist without power. They need power. They want to tell you what kind of car you can drive. They need power to do that. They want to tell you what kind of...
I think that's a good thing.
Okay.
Regulating people's cars so we can try and create...
So then you might like that. But I just think you just need to understand, it's important to understand the core values that, yes, if you want to tell people what kind of car they can drive, what kind of food they can eat and all that stuff, well, you need power. You need political power to do that. And so that's where the left goes, where the right wing believes more in self-government. We want you to decide. So yeah, you might have to say, well, I guess if I believe an electronic car is better for the environment than a combustion engine, then I'm going to drive an electric-powered car, but maybe my neighbor I think is a worse person because he doesn't drive one. That's the difference between self-government and the government deciding what you need to do. So they need power to do it, where the right wing believes in self-government. So I just think it's important to understand kind of the core principles. I want to address something you just said, satanic cults. Again.
Oh no.
Are you going to deny that there was an Epstein Island? Are you going to deny these Diddy parties where they're having all these things?
Wait a second. How many photos was Kamala Harris in with Epstein?
No.
How many photos was Donald Trump in with Epstein?
Did you read?
See the silence?
Did
Crazy,
you read?
isn't it?
There's no silence. You just won't shut up. Did you read the WikiLeaks emails in 2016? Did you hear about Abramovich? Did you hear about the spirit cookings? Did you hear about the children in the hot tub for your entertainment? Did you read these emails? This is all public information. Anybody in this room can go look at the WikiLeaks emails. The Democrat committee emails invite Marina Abramovich to spirit cookings, and they have children in the hot tub for your entertainment. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, go home, look it up. It's all public record. It's all real.
Wait, all of that is public record, all of that is real, all of that is super true?
Yes.
Why didn't Donald Trump do anything about it?
I wish he would have.
So then why would you elect him again? He failed.
Because I vote
he fired Comey, he put in his own guy, he fired his AGs, he put in his own guys.
See, you exist in a cult. I don't. I'm a pragmatic
The guy you're
voter.
advocating for is a fucking loser. He failed on everything you want. At least I can point to Biden and go, look at the CHIPS Act. Whereas Donald Trump said, we're going to tear up China and bring back manufacturing. Nothing happened. At least Biden got a bill passed and did something. Whereas Donald Trump said, we're going to do more for infrastructure than we ever have. He did fuck all. At least Biden passed the infrastructure bill, right? When Donald Trump talks,
that's going
he
so
fails.
well.
What's going so well? The infrastructure bill? Yes, it is.
So
there's been a ton of money, more than ever before, allocated to
I understand. It sounds crazy, brother. Believe me. It's a great shirt. I'm sure he made some nice money off that shirt because he's a capitalist like everybody else. I'm just telling you, I would probably have thought I was crazy when I was your age too. But when you dig into this stuff and you realize your government is extremely corrupt, your mainstream media is extremely corrupt, most of the celebrities that we look up to are extremely corrupt, these are the ones that are telling you how to think. And so yeah, I don't like that. I don't think you should like that. And you would be stunned if you saw what was in those Democrat emails that he's pretending is not true. So you don't have to call it a satanic cult, but you can go look. Marina Abramovich, spirit cookings, Democrat Party emails. You can make up your own mind after you read them.
Why was Trump in a picture with Epstein? Why was he on the flight logs?
Who cooperated with the FBI when Epstein was trying to bring girls into his trafficking ring at Trump's clubs? Donald Trump.
Trump's clubs?
Yeah, Donald Trump. Epstein was at Trump's clubs trying to recruit young girls.
We know he's got security cameras in there because we saw all the documents from the Mar-a-Lago thing. So what, was Donald Trump just sitting there jerking off to it the whole time? Or?
No, he was cooperating with the FBI. He literally cooperated with the FBI. And when did Epstein get arrested?
He cooperated with the FBI.
When did Epstein get arrested? Epstein got arrested. So now the Epstein thing is real. So see, now the Epstein thing is real. Now he has to accept that it's real, and now he's talking about it. Bill Clinton flew on Jeffrey Epstein's plane dozens of times.
Bill Clinton.
Donald Trump did not. Donald Trump helped bring Jeffrey Epstein to jail and prison. He's the only president that did so. Donald Trump cooperated with the FBI when they were investigating Epstein recruiting young girls. And notice all the people that were friends with Epstein, all the people that went to Epstein Island, all hate Donald Trump.
I think everybody hates Donald Trump. I mean, that's not really a fair metric. I mean, like, if his last vice president hates him, I mean,
everyone hates Donald Trump, but there were millions of people at the insurrection. Everybody hates Donald Trump, but he's the most popular person in the world. Yeah, everybody hates Donald Trump. Clearly, you didn't walk around campus today because a lot of people actually love Donald Trump.
Yeah, because they got people like you brainwashing them. Everybody that's worked with Donald Trump hates Donald Trump.
I'm sure
everybody that spent time in office with Donald Trump. There's a reason why 42 of his 44 last cabinet members won't endorse him.
The government.
The government is part of the thing that what do you think America is? Do you think it's just a piece of land? What is the United States? Self-governance. But now when it comes to abortion, self-governance when it comes to what kids read in school libraries, when does the self-governance stop and the Christian virtue signaling begin? By the way, Christian virtue signaling following a man who doesn't even read the Bible, who can't even say John 3:16 when asked for his favorite Bible verse, a guy who cheats openly on all three of his wives and then steals campaign funds and steal campaign. Yeah, I know you love him because there's nothing he could do that would make you not love him.
His ex-wives still love him.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. That's why they divorced him.
So, man, that is just, it's hard to concentrate with so much yapping in my ear.
Don't worry, it's how we all feel watching InfoWars. Or
they all watch InfoWars! They all watch InfoWars. I love it. So there you go. So Epstein is real. So first it's, a fictitious satanic cult. But now it's real. Now he admits it's real. So it's amazing. See, when things progress in the conversation, eventually everything he has to admit, everything I say he eventually has to admit is real.
Hi. I don't know if this is a great segue or if my question won't matter anymore, but this is for Mr. Shroyer. What is one, other than the Sandy Hook crisis actor thing, what is one conspiracy theory on the right that you think is not true?
I mean, I don't think they used weather weapons to steer this last hurricane. That's a recent one. past that, I mean, you'd have to be more specific. I mean, there's a lot of things. Basically, I would say if I don't report on it, I don't believe it's true. There's a lot of rumors out there about Tim Walz that I think are fake. So most of the Tim Walz stuff I think is fake. I don't believe it. So there's just a couple of recent examples.
Hey, how are you doing? My question is, if during the 2020 election, if the quote-unquote government could have stolen the election, why didn't they do that in 2016? I think that if you're going to be a conspiracy theorist, you should like apply your conspiracy theories consistently.
I think that's a great question. I think that's a fair question. And I think Hillary Clinton is still pissed off that they didn't steal it for her. But there's an actual practical answer, as I said. They changed the laws because of COVID, and they allowed all of these mail-in ballots. Millions of mail-in ballots around the country. Some of them were going to casinos, gas stations, empty parking lots. You didn't have that in 2016. You didn't have videos like in Philadelphia or in Atlanta where they shut down the polling locations and then people stay and triple count ballots. So
I think
we
it
know
was
what
even
was
rumor
different
they
between
can vote as
2020
many
and
times as you
2016.
want.
It's a fair question, but those are your differences. There were different. They were different ways they were counting ballots. There were different ways to vote, and that's what ultimately changed the results. But if you go back and you look at the graphs, this is going to be the thing that should blow anybody's mind. If you're a fair observer, go back and look at the graphs. In Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, Trump was winning all day long until 3:30 in the morning, and the vote for Biden goes straight up, right at the buzzer, straight up, and then they declare the states for Biden. Anybody would have to be honest with themselves and say that there's something wrong there.
In Fulton County, the people accused of running the ballots over and over again were Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. Will you own that opinion right here and say that they were triple counting ballots?
No, they were actually not charged.
They were what?
They were not charged.
So it wasn't them, it was somebody else?
Yes.
Okay, so the reason why he's very careful of that is because he's been through defamation lawsuits now. And he knows
because
that
I know the facts.
He knows that the
the
original
facts.
claim that multiple ballots were counted, or that the same ballots were counted multiple times in Fulton County originated. It was fabricated, whole cloth, from Powell and Giuliani about Fulton County from those State Farm Arena videos. Not only did Ruby Freeman and her daughter Shay Moss sue Giuliani over that, Giuliani came out and said, yeah, I lied, but it was my First Amendment right to lie. And believe it or not, that doesn't actually work for a defense in a defamation suit. That's why he lost that case for $148 million, and like his business leader, Donald Trump, is now declaring bankruptcy.
Probably only have time for one or two more questions.
Awesome. Hey, Destiny, MAGA Republican. You talked last debate with Doyle about the dinosaur stuff, and then this debate with the dinosaur
Like
stuff
for
as well.
real?
I don't know what's going on with the dinosaurs.
Explain that.
I believe they exist. What's up with that? Do they not, or what's going on?
A couple years ago, I was kind of depressed. I realized that, like, in the era that we live in right now, in the whole Donald Trump MAGA stuff, nothing personally to you, but it feels like nothing can ever happen again that isn't a conspiracy. And now every single thing that these people talk about is a conspiracy. The 2020 election was stolen. COVID was fake, but it was also a manufactured bioweapon. The vaccine, even though it was warp-sped by Donald Trump, was evil because it was something to do with billionaires and Jews, even though Israel is the country that had the uptake of the mRNA vaccine more than any other country. The mRNA vaccine was bad because it was
this is a waste of time, man. Answer his question.
Emergency use authorization, even though the monoclonal antibodies were great, even though it was the same thing. The issue is that every single one of these MAGA people, I'm answering his question, every single one of these MAGA people.
About dinosaurs.
Yeah, because you guys all believe in insane, unhinged, crazy shit, and then you try to run away from it. You're on stage because you're too cowardly to own your fucking opinion, right? You won't own any of it. That's why you're up here and you're like, oh well, maybe they don't have things to change the Earlier you said
that you believe in crazy,
because I think it's
things.
worth it for the audience to see.
That's ironic.
Like when media entities that, by the way, are fully aligned with you, are fully funded by Russia, like Tenet Media, by the way. I think it's good to be able to show people. I think it's good to be able to show people what's happening.
My bank records have been combed through, as he's mentioned, the lawsuits against me, the government's against me. So yeah, if there was anything sketchy there, they would have already found it. So
I'm just saying it's interesting that these people all align wholesale with you in opinion. Yeah, I just think it's funny that conservatives don't believe in dinosaurs. They think that oil is a self-replenishing thing. They think that we couldn't have gone to the moon. They simultaneously don't believe that we went to the moon, but they do believe in Elon's rockets. They talk about George Soros and billionaire conspiracies, even though Elon Musk wants to put a fucking microchip in your brain and he owns companies that are digging fucking tunnels beneath Las Vegas. Like, it's just insanely hypocritical. They believe in every single conspiracy theory. The wildfires in Hawaii were caused by Jewish space lasers.
It's self-replenishing.
They think that every fucking war in the Middle East is some, like, I already answered the dinosaur. You guys don't believe the dinosaurs are fucking real. It's a debate. We're allowed to fucking talk.
So here's what he's doing. Modern day
There's no
Trump
connection.
supporting conservatism
There is
is
no
a big
connection.
That's what I
I
wanna point
don't know.
out.
I
is
don't know.
a big
I
tent.
have
So yeah, there's
no
probably crazy
single
people that
idea what
believe
he's
this stuff.
saying there.
I'm
Just
big enough
like
for the
there's crazy
dinosaurs,
people
though.
that believe crazy things about
Crude oil is
the right.
self-replenishing.
These people all believe Trump-Russian collusion, which was fake.
When
These
waste
people all believe that the Hunter Biden
is,
laptop was fake. It was
biodegraded.
real.
Wait, Trump-Russia
so
collusion, that was fake?
Extreme
So-
leftism.
Wait,
I don't know
that
what
was
he's
fake?
talking about with
Everything.
Democrats
This
and
whole
dinosaurs or Republicans and dinosaurs. I don't know anything about
natural
that. That's not conservatism.
cycle
That's some fringe people that
and
happen to vote
brings
Trump because
out
they
crude
still,
oil
even though don't
eventually.
believe in
Crude oil
dinosaurs,
is
are smarter than him.
simply waste
Was Roger Stone working
that
with
has been
Donald Trump's
transformed. And waste
Wow, the
continues
silence. There it
to
is. Yeah, because he
I
knows
wanna
this.
move
Like, he
on.
knows
I would
this
like to
line of
move
questioning
on.
goes.
Waste
Yes,
continues
It
to
wasn't.
drop on the
Trump-Russia
side.
collusion
And
was not
that's
fake.
why
There was
Trump
collusion
break
between
collusion.
Trump's
Can I get another
campaign
question?
and
Said
between
to be
Russia. It happened. What do you think the DNC leaks that he's so
There's
excitedly
no
talking
connection
about came
between
from? They came from Russian
dinosaurs
hackers, and
and
Roger
crude
Stone was
oil.
talking to
None
all
at
of those
all.
people. It's laid out all in court indictments.
Hey, so for you, big guy, a couple points and then a question for you, and maybe we close this out. You brought up marginal utility of dollars as related to Owen's flat tax proposal. That cuts both ways. There's also a marginal utility of services. You say that Democrats aren't for voter fraud, yet they're suing the state of Virginia for removing illegal aliens from their voter rolls. You say that the evidence of the January 6th insurrection is that people wouldn't go through the magnetometer and there must have been all these guns there. But if you actually watch the videos that you claimed, you would see hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people there that couldn't possibly fit on the ellipse, which is the size of this freaking room. Okay. So you want to make fun of Owen for big tech removing his First Amendment rights, and everyone around here wants to clap for him being imprisoned for being a First Amendment journalist. What's it like to be so intellectually dishonest?
It sounded like the last question for Owen, but I'll answer it anyway. You're not allowed to break into the Capitol and try to prevent the peaceful transfer of power. Who was the first person into the Capitol building? That's because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So why the fuck are you asking me a question like you do? The first people into the building were the Proud Boys. You can watch it. It's all on tape. You motherfucking retards videotape the entire thing. It's in 4K HD, 60 frames per second. Live streamed on YouTube. They were covering on InfoWars saying patriots are coming in. How did they do it? They stole a riot shield and they bashed in the window. You can watch it on video. Really? How much do you want to bet? You want to bet $5,000 right now? The first guy into the Capitol was let in by a police officer. You want to bet $5,000 on that right now? That the first person in wasn't charged with a crime, isn't on video bashing the window in with a riot shield that he stole from a cop? Exactly. That's why, because you don't have any money left to lose. Okay? No, it's bullshit. The first people that breached the Capitol grounds were the Proud Boys. It's all on video. The first people into the Capitol building were the Proud Boys. It's all on video.
My politics
It's
have cost me
anti-American and
everything.
treasonous. You hate this country.
My politics
You
have cost
absolutely
me
hate this
everything,
country.
and I'm still up here fighting the good fight because I actually love this country, unlike this guy who's lost nothing. He's lost nothing except his integrity. That's all he's left is his integrity. And I'd like to, I don't know if you want to do more questions or if you want to do final comments. But everybody, again, he sits here, we could fact check this guy all day long. The doors have magnetometers that have to be released by the Capitol Police. You can sit there and watch them release the doors, and then the cops open them and usher them through. He keeps saying it's on video, it's on video. Yes, you're right. That's literally on video. I've been in the courtrooms. I've shown it on video. You haven't because you're a good government stooge, and you'll probably be protected by the corrupt Justice Department.
None of that is true. Go look it up. Look up first breach into the Capitol. Go look it up. Go see who got indicted for it. Go see who got convicted for it. It wasn't police officers letting people into the building.
We have one more question.
This is for Shroyer. You mentioned that the immigration laws were changed under Biden to make it easier to seek asylum, and then you mentioned something about the CBP One app. As far as I'm aware, the app didn't change any immigration laws, but it made it so that appointments must be made for the app rather than further congesting the border, making it harder for the border workers to do their job. In fact, they're being sued by Amnesty International for allegedly making it harder for people to seek asylum. So my question is, what laws do you believe were changed, and what do you believe the app is doing to make it easier?
So there's basically no screening when it comes to the asylum process now. Anybody can come in and apply to be an asylum seeker. They can get on this app filed the asylum seeking process. They don't check your ID, they don't do a background check, you just fill out the form and you're in as an asylum seeker, and then you can fly into the country, you can get a flight as well. But I understand, okay, let's say I can't convince you of that. Okay, let's get the political wonk out of the way, and let's just talk realistically here. 3 straight years, record number of border crossers. I won't even put a term on them. I won't say illegal, I won't say asylum, I won't say anything. 3 straight years of record number border crossings. That's just a fact. And most of these people come here, if not all, well, probably not all, because a lot of them just escape into the country. Most of these people come here and they get free stuff immediately. You're paying for it. You're paying for their travel.
Actually done by Biden to make that easier. Like what changed?
I just told you, they changed the policy. They're not stopping
No
people.
screening.
Anybody can get in. Anybody can get in. No, it wasn't always the case. You used to have to seek asylum in the country next to you, or you used to have to go up through a background check before you could even get into the court systems and come into this country. They would hold you into a detention center or a prison before you could come into this country. Now they just let you in. That's the big difference. Joe Biden, the Biden-Harris administration. That's why illegal immigration has gone up every single year. There's been a record number of illegal border crossers. That is a fact. And they all, and I wonder if they would even come here if they weren't getting the free stuff. I wonder if they weren't getting the free lodging, the free travel, the free food, everything else, the free welfare. I wonder if they would even come here at all. I think if you cut out the welfare state, you cut out the welfare state and the open border, I doubt they even come here at all. And no other country, no other sane country on earth would have an open border and a welfare state, by the way.
Given time got away from me, we have to jump right into the closing statements. Sorry that we didn't get to the last 2 questions. We are going to start it off with Stephen's 3-minute closing. Thank you very much. Stephen, the floor is all yours.
I think conservatives are delusional. I think they hate this country. I think that they are more aligned with the interests of Donald Trump than they are with anything having to do with the concept of the United States of America. I think it's incredibly sad because I think as much as I used to disagree with conservatives, at least they stood on principle for the United States. I think that today, if another 9/11 happened, I think that conservative MAGA people would be more interested in blaming Kamala Harris than uniting around whoever our common enemy was. And I think that's why you have people like Donald Trump on stage begging and pleading for Russia to release 10,000 emails, or constantly giving praise to foreign dictators, to people like Orban, or saying that he wants his citizens to stand at attention like they do with Kim in North Korea, and why he has so many good things to say for all these authoritarian leaders like Putin, but he can't find any support from other democratic leaders around the world. I think it says something about him. I think it says something about the type of people that would support that. I think it says something about him, and if you have good parents, they told you this, if you can't look at a person, look at who their friends are, or look at who they work with. The idea that his vice president is not running with him again, that should send huge signals to your brain of what's going on here. Where is Mike Pence? Why does Mike Pence say, in contrast to you, that Donald Trump told him to unilaterally choose who the election winner would be? That's Pence's accounting of things, right? Why is it that so many of his ex-cabinet members, over 40 of his ex-cabinet members, won't endorse him for president? Why do you get 4-star generals, people like Mark Milley, saying things like Donald Trump would be a fascist? Why do you have Donald Trump himself saying, I would suspend or terminate parts of the Constitution and be a dictator on day one to do the things that I need to do? Why would you have Donald Trump try to weaponize his DOJ to go after his political opponents? Why would he call into Fox and Friends and say, I think the DOJ needs to start indicting and arresting people, and then accuse Biden of doing it despite the fact that you have absolutely no evidence of it happening, except for maybe pointing to New York State, which isn't even the federal government? Conservatives are just living in an entirely delusional, disconnected from reality world. I hope that after this election, there's a huge wake-up call.
Yeah,
we'll definitely wake up. I wish that people could look at this country and see that we genuinely do have problems that aren't always caused by the Jews or illegal immigrants. I wish that we could come together and work on some problems rather than fabricate out of whole cloth these issues that aren't even real issues or don't even exist. I wish that when issues that really were presented against this country, like illegal immigration, were put in front of Congress to solve, that the Republicans would be behind it, along with the Democrats. And I think that when you look at the record of leadership, when you compare the Biden administration, of which Harris is the vice president, you saw all of the bipartisan legislation that they got passed, and you compare it to Trump's administration, that was a failure in every single conceivable way. Whether it was his inability to actually end conflict in the Middle East, he didn't. Whether it was ability to actually solve problems with legislation, he didn't. Or whether it was his ability to lead a coherent country that was falling apart under BLM riots and COVID lockdowns and all sorts of other things, COVID, of which he didn't even acknowledge was real until it was already, tens or hundreds of thousands of cases in this country. And you can see how much he undermined it, how much that bothered him, because he couldn't even get credit for the vaccine that he so desperately wanted his audience to worship him for. I hope that after this election season, I hope we can come together a little bit better and be better Americans and be on the same team again.
Time. Owen, you have 3 minutes.
Okay. He says conservatives hate this country, yet look at my story, look at Donald Trump's story. I came here tonight, I took the time to prepare myself so I don't look like a slob, and I put my American flag lapel pin on because I care about this country. I came here despite, yes, lawyers watching me all the time trying to sue me like ambulance chasers, the federal government watching me all the time because they want to throw me in prison, and I continue to come out here because I love this country. Don't tell me I hate this country. I love this country. This guy comes presented tonight looking like a slob with a Finding Nemo necklace on, okay? That's how serious he is. And by the way, how about Donald Trump? He's been shot at. He's had multiple assassination attempts. They go after his family. They bring him through the courts as well. And he's still fighting for this country. Let's not act like it's conservatives that don't love this country. It's flag-waving conservatives that sang the national anthem on January 6th. They sang the national anthem when Donald Trump went back to Butler, Pennsylvania, where they shot at him. You won't even hear a Democrat sing a national anthem. They kneel for the national anthem. They hate this country. Pretty much everything a Democrat says is projection. And by the way, on the vaccine thing, I disagree with Trump on the vaccine, but it's funny, you notice when Trump was president with the vaccine, Kamala Harris and everybody said, don't take the vaccine, it's the worst. As soon as Biden got in, they all loved the vaccine. Did you take the vaccine? I sure hope not. By the way, ask yourself this. How much money is spent on elections? Billions of dollars. Why? Why is so much money spent on an election? Because power. That's why.
Democracy.
Power. So ask yourself in follow-up, are elections ever stolen? Is there ever any voter fraud? Can you really tell yourself no to these questions? Or are you going to sit here and believe everything the government tells you and everything the establishment media tells you? And you notice that's where he goes with everything. He keeps citing people that work for the government their whole lives. He keeps citing mainstream media talking points. So you can choose to live your life trusting the mainstream media, but guess what? You're going to be the one that's deceived. You're going to be deceived about war in the Middle East, weapons of mass destruction, Russian collusion, the vaccine is safe and effective. You name it. They deceive you on everything, and he comes up here and parrots their talking points and acts like he's put in an effort tonight. And just for clarification, Pence was not asked to decide who the winner was. He was asked to delay the certification. So let's just, again, get that straight. But in closing, I would say this. You have two choices. It's very simple. You can either be pro-establishment, pro-big government, pro-mainstream media telling you what to do, how to live, pro-government telling you what to do, how to live. You can accept that our government and our media has been corrupt for decades. Probably everyone in this room's entire life, our government has been corrupt. This is not a message for the right. This is not a message for the left. This is a message for Americans. We have a corrupt government. We have a corrupt media. That's what we're addressing. That's what we want to overthrow. Those are the people trying to stop Donald Trump. That's why I support Donald Trump, and I hope this reformation with a populist anti-establishment movement in the Republican Party is here to stay.
Thank you very much to both of our speakers. Thanks so much for coming out tonight, folks. It's been a true pleasure. Drive safe. If you're watching online, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Sean. Thanks very much, Sean.
Thank you, James. Let's give a big round of applause for James, Owen, and Destiny, and everybody else here.
Now, that everyone is surely going to agree with me that that was a whole lot. Man. You see, this entire debate on failed policies, censorship, and all that. The truth is, just as Mr. Shroyer said, he doesn't agree with all of Trump's policies. But you can't stay and deny that he did better when he was in power. I don't agree with everything he said, like pulling out of the rest of the world and standing on their own. No. Although they may seem fit to do that right now, in a matter of years, you see that there may be some things you don't have that others have that you may need to get. What then? You've pulled out, you have isolated yourself. How do you get it? So, just he's citing that as an example. It's just to tell you that I don't agree with everything he said. But that doesn't mean that I won't rationalize with him or I won't agree with the other things he said. And as for Destiny, you see, the fact is, he was constantly contradicting himself. I'm going to use the funding of illegal immigrants' welfare as an example. He repeatedly debunked that statement when Mr. Shroyer said, but then a student came, asked him concerning the Colorado, government giving money to Colorado, and how they used it to pay for an apartment for them. Now, truthfully, the illegal immigrants don't have homes, but then when they apply for asylum, they are flown in freely, given free food, and paid for hotel accommodation. Now, illegal immigrants per se, emphasis on the illegal. The city of Colorado or the state of Colorado actually applied to the emergency board. That was a long name. I didn't quite memorize it. But it applies to the Federal Emergency Board. And they got money specifically to lodge those illegal immigrants, that is, take them off the street. Now, just as Mr. Owen said, if welfare is taken out of the conditions that the American government offers, then how many of these illegal immigrants or how many of these immigrants in total would want to come into the country? But no, you go into the country freely. You are given free food, accommodation, name it, healthcare. Why wouldn't you want to go there? I mean, I would. So basically, that's also something to consider. And the way he tried to pry it off the government and pin it on the governor of Colorado was just something to look at. I mean, is this how they'll be pinning blame or shifting blame if they're eventually in power? The thing is, most of his theories were quite hilarious, especially the one concerning crude oil and dinosaurs. I really don't see the connection. I don't know if someone out here or out there sees it, but I was not the only one pricked by this particular thing, because a man came up to ask that question, and instead of answering the question, he started talking about vaccines and all whatnot. Now, the whole corona incident with Donald Trump, we've seen numerous videos. I mean, we see all these things on the media. How Trump didn't agree to close the schools for a certain period of time. He was called names by the Democrats and all that. There were videos, numerous videos made to just defame the guy on that particular thing. And when they got into power, most of his policies or most of his ideas, let's put it that way, were stolen. Just as the first time when they were listing policies, you could see that there were policies that Destiny said that Mr. Owen debunked as Trump's actual policies. And that's just crazy, because it just seems like the Democrat Party or the Democrat side has no policies of their own. They are all after one man. And even when asked accomplishment, his opening speech was just an all-out insult to the conservatives, the Democrats, and all that. I mean, it was super crazy. Now, back to the question that tall guy asked on the issue of dinosaurs. Looking at the way he rambled on that, without actually explaining how crude oil is related to dinosaurs, it's funny. It's funny how people actually see that kind of viewpoint or see that kind of ideology from a person and still actually move with what he believes in. He couldn't elaborately give answers to most of the questions he was asked. It was merely an all-out warfare on his side. And I love the way Mr. Owen gave him facts, gave him everything. Now, they call them selfish, they call them wicked, but yet these are people that have lost everything in the pursuit of fighting for the country. As Mr. Owen said, you can't tell me I don't love my country because on account of this country, I've lost my business, I've lost my money, everything. And he kept jabbing him with that. Destiny kept jabbing him with that, by the way. And yet he's still doing it. He's still fighting. Just as Donald Trump, he's still fighting. And America is not like other countries that when you get out of power, you are relatively richer. I mean, I know corruption happens all over the world, but it's safe to say that in America, it's kind of reduced. So with Donald Trump losing virtually everything he has before assuming office, you can't actually say that he would gain it in his 4 years in office, or Mr. Owen is going to gain back everything he has lost when Donald Trump finally gets back in power. And this brings me to say, based on policies, now that Donald Trump has won the election again, I believe the clock is going tick-tock. It's left for the man, Donald Trump, to actually prove the leftists wrong and bring justice to his name, to the conservatives, and to everyone who has put faith in him. It's left to him now to deliver. And as Mr. Owen said, if you feel like the Trump administration is not for you and Kamala's administration is for you, or you have any arguments concerning the two of them, these two people have ruled for a certain period of time. Donald Trump was president for 4 years and Kamala Harris was vice president for 4 years. Now, the records will speak for themselves. And now that he has won again, let's see what new records are set. I believe we all have our different thoughts and comments on this video. Please do well to leave your comments in the comment section. And please remember to leave a thumbs up at the end of this video. If you're joining the channel for the first time, please click that bell button so you'll be notified when a new video drops. And remember to subscribe to this channel. Please don't forget to leave your comment. Let's see what you guys have to say. Thank you so much for watching and stay safe.